Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Golfing Greenkeeper podcast. My name is Steve Smith, and I'm your host, and this is something out of the ordinary, very different, and something I'm hoping you're going to really enjoy. Ladies and gentlemen, this episode is another segment of John Deere Golf Keeper of the Greens, and we're going to do a deep dive for the turf nerds out there in the world and those wanting to maybe understand a little bit more, or a lot more as it were, about what goes into the thinking and the decision-making and all the bits and pieces that make up the role of a superintendent when trying to prepare a golf course and the turf surfaces for those of you out there to play golf on and enjoy the game of golf. This is an insight through Superintendent Craig Geeve at Duntryleague Golf Club in Orange, and I went out there on site with him so we could go around the golf course, and he was so generous with his time to be able to chat about what he does and what he puts into and the work that goes into his turf surfaces and the decisions that he makes with his team about how to prepare those surfaces, the putting greens, fairways, and so on, all the different facets of the golf course. So it's a deep dive for the full turfies. We talk about all sorts of technical stuff. Yeah, there's a whole lot in this one. As I mentioned, ladies and gentlemen, it's brought to you by John Deere Golf, who are proud partners of the Golfing Greenkeeper podcast, in particular, helping me bring to you this segment of Keeper of the Greens. John Deere Golf, as you know, are all in when it comes to supporting our wonderful turf industry here in Australia and New Zealand. And they're here to help you move your game forward together. And that's a line that I absolutely love to hear from them, and it's how they're going about supporting our industry. Your team's passion keeps the game alive, and that's why John Deere delivers trusted equipment and support you can count on. And it's not the passion of just you, it's not the passion of me bringing this podcast to you, but it's the passion of John Deere and their support of our industry. Since 1987, John Deere Golf has been building trust and excellence on golf courses right around the world. Now, have you heard about their Operations Centre Pro Golf? And I'm sure you have by now, and the reason I asked that question is because I want you to think about it. It's a fantastic product, and it's an absolute game changer for the industry. If you haven't checked it out, do yourself a favour and ask for a demo from your local dealership to see what a difference it can make to your golf course and your golf facility. Go on the website, deere.com.au, ladies and gentlemen, deere.com.au, whether you're in Australia or New Zealand, and that's where you're going to be able to find out where your local dealer is relative to where you are. You type in your postcode and it'll come up on the maps, it'll find out exactly which one and where your local dealer is, anywhere in Australia or New Zealand. And your local dealers are ready to help you make smarter decisions, smarter turf decisions with precision technology and expert advice. When your office is a golf course, you need a reliable partner, and John Deere Golf are here to partner with you with a deep commitment to the game of golf. Make sure you go to their website, ladies and gentlemen, as I mentioned, deere.com.au. We can find out all the information you need about Operations Centre Pro Golf, all the machinery they've got on there to help you look after your turf surfaces better. And as they say at John Deere, and I said at the beginning, let's move your game forward together. And now, without further ado, to this ripper episode of John Deere Golf Keeper of the Greens. This is episode number 150. Ha! That's a new milestone. There you go, 150 episodes. Wow. Thank you for everyone for listening. Thank you to the partners of the Golfing Greenkeeper podcast for helping me continue to bring this podcast out to everyone across Australia and New Zealand and around the world. I really do appreciate your support, each and every one of you taking the time to listen to these episodes as they come out. It's humbling that I'm able to keep going and keep doing it with your support. 150 episodes. There you go. This is episode number 150. So, ladies and gentlemen, you can probably hear my voice is well and truly a bit average. And I just thought I would preface this by saying this is part 2 of John Deere Golf Keeper of the Greens, out here with Superintendent Craig Geeve from Duntryleague Golf Club. G'day, Craig. How are you, mate?
Good, Steve. How are you?
Mate, in person. Made the trip again. I made it via Mount Panorama with the Bathurst 1000 on the weekend, so busted a lap on the way through. Mate, it's great to be out here on course, and the golf course is waking up significantly so since I was here at the end of August. What's that, six weeks?
Yeah, about 5-6 weeks, yeah.
Unbelievable. We've got colour in the fairway. South African cooch is glowing and jumping out of the ground, nearly grabbing my ankles. And the place looks absolutely unreal. You've had a bit of rain?
We have, yeah. A couple of 12 mil dumps, about a week apart. So about an inch over the last 3 weeks.
And that's not too much, but it's perfect for you guys, isn't it?
Yeah, it's probably, I like controlling our
Sure.
irrigation, Steve.
Yep.
But you can't control the weather, so it's one thing that I learned to just accept. You get what you get when you get it. But dams are full. Good time of year to get it. We're not too wet, so
Yep.
it can only help. Yeah, we're in a good spot.
It's like a Truman Show day. There's not a cloud in the sky, is it?
Well, you told me you were coming, so I
dialed it in.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for one of these lights to fall out on Jim Carrey. This is magic.
You'll have to put some photos up.
Absolutely, and I'll be taking plenty of happy snaps like a proper tourist. But mate, we're just talking about these fairways, the South African cooch, and there's a couple of people who listen that know a bit about South African cooch, and I'll do a shout out quickly to Jeff Austin on the TAFE over in Perth in WA. He's got a plot of South African cooch in a pot in his home. That's how much he's all over it, which is good. So Jeff, if you're listening, and I know you will be, because this is a full nerd episode of John Deere Golf Keeper of the Greens. We're going to dive into a lot of technical stuff of what you do here, Craig, and
let's not scare too many people away.
Well, let's not scare, but we might as well set it up properly so that they know what they're getting themselves in for. You're going to need a 6-point racing harness by the time we finish this. So, mate, on the fairway, what holes is this? Is
16.
16.
Par
Good
5,
roller
16.
coaster. I like this.
Yeah,
Broken
split fairway.
split fairway, a couple of fairway bunkers on the left, and humps and bumps. Reminds me of 10 actually at Newcastle with the humps as we ride over them as you get towards the green, and a par 5. But the fairways have woken up significantly since I was here, like I mentioned, and we're just talking about some of these dead spots that we've got around here that are obvious, and I'll take some photos and we'll share them up on socials, and this is going to be attached to some YouTube stuff as well that I'm going to do. But you're talking about kikuyu control in South African cooch, and that's a bit challenging.
Yeah, it can be, yeah. The South African's very temperamental when it comes to chemical applications. So we've found that quinclorac and tribute is quite a good combination, or I've noticed that in previous jobs.
Yep.
At other sites. So we've done some trial work and it's really good, but we've actually had to dial down the rates because it's too effective.
Yeah,
almost. So we've still got to play with it a little bit more, but you can see here, like, the kikuyu here is absolutely decimated. Like, we've got one green shoot in there. So, we might have to come back and do a second application, but we're getting on top of it.
But generally speaking, and these are the things, if you don't get on top of this, especially in South African, because I've seen it quickly, a lot of the golf courses, nearly all of them in the Blue Mountains, certainly in the upper Blue Mountains, their fairways were stalinised with South African cooch. And I've seen them over the years since they got fairway irrigation and that sort of stuff. It's transitioned all the way the other way now, where there's no South African nearly and it's all kikuyu. So unless you stay on top of it, and it's something that you want to control and have a pristine surface as much as possible, the kike will grow, and it'll grow pretty quickly. Certainly got fertile soils out here.
Absolutely.
It's part of being at Mount Canobolas, extinct volcano.
Yes.
You've got beautiful soils here, and everything grows quite well when it's got a bit of moisture.
Yeah, when it's got the right nutrients, the right moisture. Yeah, it's fantastic. It can be challenging, obviously, in dry times and when Mother Nature isn't being cooperative. But yeah, look, the kike will take over. We're probably in a bit of an ugly stage at the moment. Like, as I mentioned on the other podcast, we've probably got rid of 70% of the weeds that we had. We're probably 60-40 realistically.
Yeah, right.
In these fairways, we're probably...
And that's more broadleaf weeds you're talking about in general, or just undesirables in general?
Broadleaf, but we've, like, these patches of kikuyu used to be massive. Like,
oh, really?
Yeah, like if not in this exact spot, but we would have patches probably the size of what I'm marking out now.
So that's about, what, a good 4 metre diameter?
Yeah, probably 3 by 3, 9 square metres. And we've still got some on the first, and those areas were even bigger. They would have been 20, 25 square metres worth of kikuyu, and we've got them down to smaller areas. But yeah, there was a lot of kikuyu in here. It's unrecognisable. We've got some events throughout the year where people come back and they only play once a year, and they've pulled me aside and they can't believe the transformation. That's really flattering.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
we're not where we want to be, obviously, and that's part of it. We're working towards it. You get these ugly spots on the fairways at the moment, but you got to do it at some point, right?
Well, and that's it. Like, if you don't start, you'll never start, and then you've got to keep working out your goal. And to be fair, you've got a bit of pressure because you're surrounded by a lot of kike in the rough, in the immediate rough around those South African gooch fairways.
Yeah, it's quite unique. Like a lot of other golf clubs that I've been at, the surface on the fairways has been your rough.
Yep.
Where here, the fairways are the fairways and the rough's totally different.
Yeah.
So if we can get this right, it's going to look really cool in 3, 4, 5 years' time. At the moment, it's not bad, don't get me wrong. It's great to see where we've come from, but yeah, I'm excited to see where we're going to go, and we're in kind of this limbo period where unfortunately we do have a bit of damage, but as I said, you can always find excuses why not to do something.
Sure.
Oh, we've got this tournament, we've got this event, we've got that.
Yep.
I've obviously got to be mindful of our biggest events, and I am. But besides that, I think it's fair game. We've just got to get on top of it as soon as possible.
Well, there's a question though, and we'll talk about, because let's face it, a lot of committee members in other clubs might say that's too much scarring, that's too much damage. A lot of golfers might go, what's that? But at the same time, the alternative is that you don't do anything and it just keeps coming in and further to the point where you have to do something significant, right? And then it's a huge deal, and then everyone goes, how much is it going to cost? How much is there going to be damage for? We're going to have GUR here for how long? That's not, I've got to be honest, coming, and maybe it's my country mindset a little bit, doing my time as a superintendent away from metro areas, but I don't see that as a big deal. In Sydney and maybe in Melbourne, they'd probably go, oh dear. But I've got to be honest, that just to me seems like part and parcel of maintaining a golf course. There's going to be a level of, it's like having a car. You have a car, there's going to be X amount of times it has to be in the workshop for regular maintenance.
Absolutely.
Now, a golf course is going to be the same. So that's my mentality. For those that are listening, that's how I view it. But everyone's got their own different way. So, and that's the balance that you find, right? That's what you've got to find.
Absolutely. And I think the place was let go to a certain degree. So to push back and get it back to where we want it to be, it's going to take a fair bit of effort. Like we've sprayed out a lot of kikuyu around the greens, and that looked ugly for a couple of months.
Sure.
Back when I did that. The other option I could do, Steve, is say to the board, well, let's bring the fairways in a metre or two and reshape them and let the kite come in, and then the fairways get smaller and smaller. And
it's like greens.
Gets
happens
harder
to greens
and harder.
over time. They shrink, and then eventually you've got to bite the bullet and you've got to go somewhere. You've got to go back.
Well, at the moment, my club captain does a lot of work, and it's a great help, but he's got drawing programs on his computer, and he's mapped the whole place out, and we can get perfect measurements of everything, the dams and everything. So if we ever need to apply stuff, and we'll talk about it later, but we had a leak in our turkey's nest. And we plugged that up a couple of weeks ago, and we've seen a massive improvement. But we need to get the right quantities, and he's really good for that. But he's done the measurements on our fairways, and we're at US Open width, so we're tight.
Yeah,
and that's mainly because of our trees. But I think this has been ranked 10th hardest course in Australia.
Really?
Yeah, based on trees and narrow fairways. And
righto.
We play 6.11 above handicap per 18 holes.
6.11
shots.
Wow.
Yeah, it came out the other week. The Nathan King, the head pro here, he made us aware of it. And
okay, I wouldn't have expected that. There you go.
And I think it's because we're so tight. Like, we're not long.
Yeah. No, that's right.
But we're so tight when you get into the trees, even though we've lifted them.
Yeah. But still, you get offline a bit in the rough and you're blocked, usually by a tree somewhere, because there are a lot.
Exactly right.
And that's time. That's over many, many years, decades. Being that you've been here for, it's 90 odd years on this side, isn't it? Or something like that?
We're coming up to our 150th anniversary, but the golf club was 30 something.
Yeah. So around that 90-year mark.
Yep.
So, and that's a long time for trees to be growing. There's some of them here that are incredibly old. They're magnificent, beautiful trees. But at the same time, as they grow and get bigger, it does encroach on whole corridors, and that's what happens on a lot of courses. So, very interesting with the kike management, and you've got some holes that are no doubt worse than others. Yeah, in terms of what you got to treat.
Yep.
Have you got any that you're pretty happy with that don't really have any kike in them?
Yeah, there are a few.
Yeah.
And as we drive around, we'll see that. But 3's probably a pretty clean one. 5's clean. 5's a cracking hole. Looking back from the green, we'll go up there and have a look later. But
awesome. Yeah,
that's especially when it's striped up.
And I want to ask you about this grass. I don't know if it's Parramatta grass. When we drove past it, you'll tell me what it is.
So we
Or are these sedges?
Jerry Spencer took this to a plant biologist in Sydney for me.
Okay.
And it's juvenile crabgrass.
Okay, righto.
So, yeah, it's hard to get out. But
This is proper hard.
yeah, it's only juvenile. It doesn't get big because when we start mowing, it obviously doesn't like
Practices
those conditions.
on it. Yeah, yep.
And it kind of sits in this no man's land, but because we haven't started mowing yet,
Yep.
some of it's getting quite tufty.
Yeah, I was going to say that's why I wasn't sure when we drove up.
But there is a theory behind that. I know it looks ugly, but if I can let that grow up a little bit higher, we can hit it with wands or even spot spray it without it being down at cooch height, and we'll hopefully get less burn than what we do with the kike.
That's an interesting point. That's an interesting, different management technique for that type of weed. You're probably not going to have that opportunity in a metro course, really, are you?
No, you're not. Absolutely.
So
there is.
Allows you to think about managing a weed in a different way, which is good.
Yes. No, there is significant differences between my time in Sydney and out here, and it's good that I'm able to experiment.
Yeah, for sure.
And try different things, and the club's obviously, well, I wouldn't say they're patient because this has been accepted for years.
Yeah.
So in time, it will probably be not expected.
Well, you want to get to a point where that's right. They're not expecting. No one wants or would be happy with, But
I'm probably creating a rod for my own back. But
well, isn't that our job?
Exactly.
At the same time,
yeah.
Ultimately,
and if we can get it to a point where we've got it under control,
yeah,
it will cost a lot less to.
And there's less of everything.
Exactly
less
right.
cost, less visual appearance with any of the control methods that you use. So, well, let's continue on. We'll see where we go from here.
I'm actually going to take you to your favourite green. I think 15's your favourite green. But this is one of the ones that got stung with
Oh, right.
the spray
Got you.
before my time.
Yeah, we didn't get out here when I was here last time.
No.
So we're on the, what did we say this
15th.
was? The 15th green. Boomerang green, and I'll share some of these photos around. So we're on the 15th green, and it's had trouble in recent times with, there was chemical damage to the putting green.
There was 4 greens.
Yep.
14, 15, 17, 18.
Yep.
They started re-turfing 14, 15, and during the interview process, they asked my thoughts. And you can't presume anything in life.
Sure.
And that's probably what I did wrong coming from Sydney. Usually all your greens are the same standard species of turf. And I'm like, yeah, just re-turf.
Yep.
Swap it out, get it in. What I didn't realise is they're turfing with juvenile pencross, pure pencross that's only been in the ground for maybe 4 or 5 months. And we're putting it into predominantly POA surfaces. So when I actually got the job and I turned up on site, they'd done the 14th and 15th greens, and I went, whoa, stop.
Yep.
We've got to stop. So 17 and 18 have actually recovered themselves because of the seed bank in the green.
Wow, from the POA.
We'll
the
go have
POA seed bank.
Yeah, we'll go have a look at them, but they would have needed as much turf as these, if not more.
Wow.
And I just asked the board for some patience.
Yep.
And I said, this will give us a better result. And the common complaint, I guess, on the golf course is 14 and 15 are letting us down. And I'm like, yeah.
And they're the two that have actually got that pencross turf in them.
That's right.
Intermixed.
So for potentially 2 months of pain, watching 17 and 18 recover slowly,
Yeah, wow.
rather than turfing them, we've still got 18 months of pain later.
Yeah, and it's going to be for however long until you keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
So let's go back to your methodology here of how you're trying to increase the amount of POA to, I suppose, outcompete. Your goal here, correct me if I'm wrong, is to outcompete the pencross.
Absolutely, yeah. So obviously spray certain things throughout the year to promote POA over pencross or over agrostis.
Yep.
We're quite heavily shaded here in winter, so the POA's got an advantage. But yeah, so I will let the POA seed around this time of year.
Yep.
If we were pure surfaces, no damage or anything, I wouldn't let it seed.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
But I do let it seed.
Yep.
And then, like I said the other day, I cut however many greens it was, 6, 8, I can't remember, but cut a handful of greens, had probably half catcherfuls, got to the greens, and I'd literally take the catchers off the mower and walk around with the catcher and just chook feed the clippings
the
out
grass clippings that you've got
onto the areas with predominant pen cross.
So you're taking the clippings on the greens you've cut that have got seed in them,
Yep.
bringing them onto these 2 greens that have got this issue of being a 50-50 of pen cross, turf, and then poa, and you're chook feeding those clippings, the seeded clippings of poa, across the green surface. Now, mate, that sounds, for those listening, you're probably thinking we're on some sort of back chook farm, because that sounds really strange. But your idea is that you're taking the strong poa seed from those greens that are growing well and bringing that seed to germinate inside the pen cross bent and the density of the poa that's here anyway, but predominantly in the pen cross bent grass rolls, so that it can germinate inside that turf, and you want to outcompete it.
Absolutely.
So you're basically overseeding your bent grass.
Yeah, and I've guys overseed their greens with different species of agrostis during renovations. That's a practice that's been adopted. But I obviously can't buy poa seed at the moment. Yes, it's being developed in the States, and I'm pretty sure you can purchase it in the States at the moment.
I didn't know. Never heard of it, but there you go.
Because of biosecurity, it's not out here yet. But again, it's coming from America. Like, what will the strike rate be? How long will it survive? It will have to adapt. So,
and this is on site. So you're taking the seed from a plant that's growing here. So it knows the environment, it knows the climate, it knows the soils, and it's adapting to those conditions, and then using here. You're not getting something from somewhere else. And that's a big positive, right?
That's right. So it's been here for 80 years.
Yeah.
80, 90 years.
Yep.
So, yeah, I just, like I said, chook feed it on, and then once, it looks pretty ugly, there's clumps of grass all over the green, I take all the catches off the mower, and then I mow with the catches off, and it smooths it out.
Yep.
In the worst areas, I'll dew whip it just to break it up. But yeah, playability-wise, we make sure we roll balls afterwards, and they're still smooth enough.
They're pretty good.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I do.
That's an outside the box thought process. I like it because it's really using your brain to think out of doing something different that doesn't cost you any money. It's using local plants that are adapted and continue to evolve to the local environment to achieve your goal of basically bringing this back to a full poa green.
Yes.
And again, that's what you're striving for here, is a pure poa stand of greens at Duntryleague and Orange. And I think that on its own is unusual. To do this methodology here on these 2 greens with this bent grass, and you're trying to outcompete with poa, is also unusual. But if you stop and think and break down your thought processes, you've already done that. If I stop and I think and I go, that's all weird, but it's actually quite logical.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
The question might be raised that, how much thatch are you incorporating and all this, but I can take thatch away. That's not an issue for me. I can get rid of thatch. So I just need the species in there.
You just need more plant.
I need to grow the grass.
Yep.
And get it consistent, and then I can work on thatch and other things. But yeah, it's working.
It's working very well, mate. It's case in point, very good visuals of a practical application that you're doing to try and achieve your goals. And I think it's very impressive. Very impressive. I like it.
I'm putting the clippings on here.
Yeah.
Then cutting them to smooth them out, obviously, for playability. But you can see where they've re-turfed.
I was going to say, it's as clear as day, isn't it?
All the blue.
Wow.
The other problem with that is, like I mentioned, the nursery green wasn't the greatest soil profile.
Yep.
So there is some clay in there. We've seen significant improvement with that, with some amendments. But if we go down there, you can see just how much poa's come into these areas. And
oh, righto. Proper.
So this has been about a year and a half. And I reckon we've got to 50-50.
That's about 50%. Totally.
So when you look at the pure poa surfaces here, they're not pure, obviously.
Yeah.
You see a fair bit of bent. And I've had people say, you've got a lot more bent than you think. And I'm like, I get that. But then look at this.
But look at that.
That's 50-50.
That's right. So what's that? Yeah.
It's got to be 90-10.
That's a fair point, isn't it?
Yeah, so that's how I distinguish what we've got.
Wow, that's interesting. Excellent.
And that was the photo I put on LinkedIn the other day.
Yeah.
It was of the same green, and there's a line through the middle. It looks like two photos, but
Yeah,
it's the same
yeah,
photo.
yeah.
And it shows 50-50 to
Right.
80-20.
Because you can see literally where that roll has gone down and square. You can square off the lines of the turf. Have you got a ball? Have you got one here?
I do. We'll be able to see these ladies
Okay.
hitting,
Oh, right. Yeah.
but I can grab a couple balls.
No, I was going to say, have you got another green then with that?
Yeah, 14's the same, but we'll wait here.
All right. Because I was just curious because you and I both know how people will go, seeded power in the middle of bent, it's going to be as bumpy as all get out.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course it's an Oakmont ball.
Of course it is. They're a power green club.
When you ask Craig, have you got any golf balls? We'll roll across the green and we'll get one from Oakmont. Sure. Man, this is just, I'm serious. If you could paint a more perfect postcard picture of a golf course, it'd just have to be here right now. It has to be. I don't even know what colour blue that is. There's no better blue.
Yeah, not a cloud in the sky.
It's absolutely magnificent.
I'm a pretty harsh marker, Steve. Like, I think we're in a good spot, but complacency ruins perfection, right?
Oh, it does.
It
does.
We've got a long way to go. So, I like the progress that we've made, but as I keep saying to my guys, we're probably at 70%.
No, exactly. You can never rest on your laurels. I think the moment as a superintendent that you sit there and... No, let me rephrase that. I don't think that there could ever be a time as a super, and I've not done everything and I've not been everywhere. I just do not think that there could ever be a time when a superintendent goes, you know what? I think we've done everything. I just don't ever see that being possible, even for a tournament. I'm sure that the supers that hold, let's say that the Hayden Meads of the world had Kingston Heath, for the last Open, and Richard's going to have Royal Melbourne for this year's Open. I don't believe that that those guys will get to their Open day and go, it's perfect. I don't think that's true. There'll always be something.
There will be, yeah.
There will always be something. There has to be. You can never say we're finished.
No, I agree, and I like Japanese culture quite a bit.
Yep.
I went there for my honeymoon. I speak a little bit Japanese, but
right.
I really like Japanese culture, and their thing is to, keep working towards perfection, knowing full well that you'll never get there.
Yeah.
But they're so disciplined in what they do.
Absolutely. So. And with that mindset and the methodology and discipline that you mentioned will drive you to be ever so close and always trying to achieve that goal. But the discipline is knowing that you'll never get there, but you keep going.
Yes.
Keep going and keep going and keep going. You stick to the discipline.
Absolutely.
And you'll get as close as you can. And those that probably don't have as sharp an eye or as detailed a mindset will probably think you've achieved it. But I think whilst ever you know you haven't, you'll always be a good professional. Doesn't matter what you do. That's my thoughts. Lots going on here. Morning.
How you going?
Working on this screen, are you?
No, doing a podcast.
We're testing, looking, podcasting, recording.
We can edit it out.
I thought you were going to get a shot.
Oh, that's got to hit a house
Yeah, I think
or a Coke machine.
Grass has been growing for thousands of years. It knows how to grow.
Oh, exactly.
My job's to manipulate it, but
Yeah.
I can encourage it in times where it doesn't want to, or slow it down. And I think
And
you can go against Mother Nature a little bit, like in soil temperatures and stuff. You can get growth.
of course you can.
And
I mean, you still take a little bit of grass off in the depths of winter and all sorts of stuff from time to time, but generally speaking, you haven't got that full spring flush just yet.
No, of
because
course
you're still getting a 1 degree overnight. Far out. It might be 20 during the day, but that nighttime temperature is going to still stymie it.
It's quite interesting. I've been listening to a couple of podcasts from the States.
Get in the hole. Oh.
And a really good analogy was made, like if you just collect the best power in one area, like you go out and make a cricket team, and you get the best players in one area, it'll be a good team. But if you go out and get the best players from Australia, you'll get
it'll
a
be better
team.
Correct. Yep.
So, if you brought all the power in from different states and the country, and even
Have a good morning.
see you later, even the United States, like, it will morph and change, and you get a far better plant.
100%.
Like, considering that's pretty
Barely
smooth.
a bubble. Barely a bubble. They're very good. Very good for a full mottled patch of green,
Yeah.
like intermingled two types of grass.
You could almost say interseeded.
Yeah,
That's
well,
what
that's exactly what it is. Yeah, you're basically oversown bent with power.
That's right.
How many people do you know? How many people listening to this podcast have oversown their bent grass greens with power? I'm going to go with none. So you're getting there. And this is what happened to us at Katoomba. We had new greens go down when we were rebuilding, and we had 4 new greens come online, and we turfed them for speed of play. The developer wanted to get greens open as soon as possible, so we got bent trucked up from Melbourne. And before long, power starts coming in because it's in the surrounds and the fairways. And after a couple of years, you got that.
Yep.
And I tried, power check, endothal, and I'm, risking burning the bent, and you're just like, oh, what are we doing here? And then for me, and I don't know if you've gone through this thought process here, I know that you're attacking your greens differently and what you're trying to, the way you're trying to get to pure power greens. But for me, it was very much a case of very low budget, minimal staff. We only had 3.5 staff at the time for 18 holes. And I was like, to try and baby these 4 greens to stay power free and the other 14 to be more or less 90% power to bent, we're going to use all of our resources, use my annual budget, in chemicals just to try and keep 4 greens clean. For what outcome? Like, to what end?
Yeah.
And so I just made the call that we have such a long winter period. It's probably longer up there for another few weeks than what you have here. We made the decision on course to say, well, that it's not achievable for us. We're at a golf club and a golf course that doesn't have the money, it doesn't have the labour, it doesn't really, those things combined means it doesn't have the ability to try and keep those bent grass greens power free. So let's just let them do their thing.
Yeah. And that's one thing that's frustrating. As you hear about it through the industry, obviously, but some of the smaller clubs in and around the place, they might renovate 1 or 2 greens. And I don't know who promotes it or, who makes those decisions, whether it's the super advisors, the board, or whoever. It doesn't
Pressure
matter.
from the club, yeah.
But, they go in and they go, we're going to run with pure distinction or something. I'm like, you got 4 staff. Like, why are you doing this? You got 15, 16 other greens that are power. You've got no plan to renovate the rest of the course.
Yep.
Why would you put pure distinction in? Like, it's kind of frustrating. I don't know how people get to that decision, but
it's a very interesting question to ask, and I wonder, have those clubs, has any of the smaller clubs, because it's really, I suppose, a comparison of where you're at here, without being rude to Duntry, of course, but I wonder how many people say, we're going to build a green. What grass do we put down? We're going to rebuild one of our bad greens with no intention of doing all 18 in 4 years' time, right? So if you're only going to do 1 or 2 or 3, what are you going to put down? If you've got, 18, or if you've got 17, 16 or 15 other greens that are majority power with no means to challenge or protect or convert the others, then shouldn't you be asking the question, like you say, well, why are you going to go and put pure distinction? It's not cheap. Even if seed of pure distinction is not cheap. And that's not being rude to any of the seed suppliers either. They've got a cost that they have to get a return on developing these grasses. And they work for Victoria Golf Clubs of the world, and they work for, the Royal Sydneys of the world. But I wonder, do the smaller clubs have eyes like dinner plates and go, we're going to get the latest and greatest grass on our one green? is it the right or the wrong call?
Well, that's right. That's not for me to say. But
No, that's right. That's a question.
my philosophy is I want consistency across
Yep.
my 18 greens.
My question is, and look at all the seeded here.
Absolutely.
Loving it. My question is, we have these challenges as supers and greenkeepers, right? Of always trying to produce smooth, good rolling greens. Whatever the definition of the right speed is individual. What am I trying to say? The mentality of a golfer, and I'm a golfer. I'm not the same as everybody. Everyone's got their own ideas. I don't believe that the average golfer, and I'll put it even narrower than that, the average A-grader, would be able to play confidently on greens that are like this particular one here on 14 with intermingled power and bent on those particular areas where you might get a little bit of movement, a little bit of bump of the ball roll, only ever so slightly, as we just saw, compared to a professional playing in a tournament on the same green. So a professional, I would sit there and I go, they are playing within millimetres of their putt. They know how to line their ball up. They know how to do their pace. They do it all day, every day. It's like eating breakfast out of a bowl.
Yep.
The average A-grader that's playing 1 or 2 days a week are not going to play to that level, and therefore that's not going to affect them. That's what I firmly believe.
I would argue that non-repaired pitch marks are far more disruptive than what
Absolutely.
I've got here.
100%. Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know, the other one that I'll add to it is a green that's a soft green with high thatch that footprints.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's going to cause more disruption than an intermingled surface of a couple of different types of cool season grass that people will go, oh, that's bumpy, it's seeding, you know, it's coming to seed, it's going to be bumpy and it looks... Sorry, how does that affect your game? You're not playing within millimetres like a pro. I mean, I have these conversations a lot. I'm not sure if I've had it with yourself, mate, but where the separation from an A-grader or the club champion at a club to the state level players, to the pros on tour, on our local tour, to the pros that are competing, you know, in the bottom end of the, say, the Corn Ferry Tour, to then stepping up to the PGA Tour, like the separation between each of those levels is staggering. To then those, the Schefflers of the world, to the ones at the bottom of the PGA Tour or the middle of the field, to the Nelly Quarters of the world and the Hannah Greens of the world, to the ones down in the middle of it. Like the separation is light years.
Yep.
So how can an A-grader at a golf club whinge about those greens when the separation between the A-grader and the club champion is daylight, and the separation between the club champion and the pro that wins on your Pro-Am is daylight? I
think it's more of a visual thing because you can see it visually. You get that mindset.
I agree.
Where
100%.
if you hypothetically painted it or put
Yep.
very high rates of ferrosulfate on and you masked it all up,
what are they? They're not going to know.
They
And
wouldn't,
therefore, there's
no.
no discussion about there being a problem. People are going to disagree with me, and they'll vehemently disagree with me. People will be screaming into their podcast right now going, Steve, you're an idiot, and you don't know what you're talking about because my ball will bump and move and I'll miss my 2-foot putt. And I guarantee you won't. It's all in your head.
But like I said, you could be on pure power, pure bent, cooch. It wouldn't matter. You can miss a putt from someone's unrepaired pitch mark.
Absolutely you can. And
I
that's
think-
what's going to cause you.
I think that's more frustrating.
Yep.
Because the etiquette
Yep.
that hasn't been shown by another golfer,
Correct.
where we've had a real world problem here,
Yeah.
and we're doing everything we can to fix it, and it's nowhere near as bad.
It's a superficial mindset. I won't even say it's a superficial problem. It's a superficial mindset, I believe, into the way people, golfers, so ultimately they're the customer, they're the client, they're the people that we're working for and trying to produce a golf course for. I think that they, and hey, I've been critical as well in competitions and in Pro-Ams and we're reluctant to blame ourselves. Always. Golfers are always reluctant to blame ourselves. But at the end of the day, very seldomly is it the fault of the greens as to why they're not sinking a putt. And if it's a visual thing, get your head around it. Now look at Royal Adelaide. They've got 4 different types of bent grass with 4 different colours on them because they want that mottled look.
Yep.
They desire to get that mottled look. Nathan Bennett is looking for that natural, not the monocultured colour of one particular grass that's a very heightened type of green. He wants that natural feel. It adds to the natural feel of the overall golf course presentation of what they deliver. So that's an example of a desire to get a more natural, intermingled and mottled look than a mono stand. And I'm not saying that it's the right answer for everybody and it's what everyone likes visually, but it's certainly something that they strive for. Oh, check out the bunker. Oh, this is 17, isn't it?
This is 17, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have a look at 17
Yep.
because this was in the same condition as those other greens that got
this
turfed.
is one of the ones that you let grow out.
So basically the whole left-hand side and the whole right-hand side wasn't pinnable. We could only pin the centre of the green.
Wow.
So I'll grab some golf balls.
Yeah, cool. Wow, okay.
There was nothing here.
Right.
Nothing here, nothing all up through here. Like it was actually quite scary. We couldn't run the mower over it because it was so bumpy, the cylinders would actually pick up soil.
Ah, okay. Wow. Wowee. So, is that, how much, that looks like majority bent, or am I wrong?
Yeah, look, there's absolutely...
What's grown back?
There's absolutely bent in there, but
yeah.
we've
but
also
you're
got...
trying to get the power in as well.
Yeah, for sure. And there's, like, there are multiple stands of power in there.
Yep.
But there is quite a bit of bent in there. I don't deny that.
No. But in terms of the fact that this was no real grass here at all.
Yeah, so they...
And you've got, look at all the power.
They put seed down in there, like
They're doing anything.
which is understandable, right?
Yeah.
Understandable. But then you look up here and you look at...
So this is all power through here.
Well, most of it. There's still bent in here.
Yep.
Absolutely,
But you're getting it in.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, look at that. That's in the hole. That's a great roll. Look at the smoothness of that. Did you roll this morning?
Yes, we did.
Oh, you did this morning?
Yeah, we did this morning. So
that is silky smooth.
So my philosophy is I don't like cutting grass.
Yep.
It damages the leaf. It's probably the worst thing we can do to turf, I think.
And again, it's interesting. There's not many people that will say it that way. There's not many people that will say, I don't want to cut grass. Because like you said, I think for those that are listening, obviously that's what we're doing this for. The things, we get taught this stuff, basic stuff at tech, right? What happens when you cut the grass? You open up the plant,
Yep.
It exposes it to pathogens and exposes it to heat stress because you're shortening the leaf. All the bad things happen. So if you that one line that you said, my job is not to cut grass, or however you worded it specifically, if you can do that, and I assume that we're going to lead into here, we'll talk about plant growth regulators a little bit too, is to try and tighten up and reduce the growth rate of the plant so that you're not taking grass off. Because if you're not, then you're reducing and minimising the instances that it's being exposed to those problems, right?
Yes. Yep.
So let's talk about, you use plant growth regulators?
Yeah, I do. So I think probably there's a number of different points here, but yeah, we try to mow 3 times a week. Yep. Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. And then we roll Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday.
Okay.
So one of the other reasons for that is too, if we need to change holes, I've got 2 mowers out there and someone changing holes. That's 3 guys. Where if I roll greens, they can take the hole changing equipment with them. So I only lose 2 guys.
Okay, interesting. Yep.
And at a club with only 6 staff, it's really important to get as much done as possible before golf.
Yep.
So if you
that's being efficient with your labour, right?
So if you spread your resources, obviously things take longer, but to mow tees and surrounds, like we've got about 1.3 hectares worth of tees and surrounds. So it's not a huge area, but it's big enough for a small crew.
Yep.
A hectare worth of greens.
Totally.
So I've just got to try to manage the property and get as much efficiency as possible in front of golf.
Yep.
Because once golf comes out, obviously we can lose quite a bit of efficiency, especially around the greens, because people are putting. You don't want to be revving the machines. Fairways are okay.
Yeah.
Like as I mentioned in the last podcast, we can get all the fairways cutting for us.
Yeah.
2 guys,
Yeah,
just striping them up in amongst golf. But so we do that because of our staff numbers.
Yep.
Then we're on a grinding program.
Yep.
So we grind every 4 weeks with our greens mowers.
And you got them in house?
We do have them in house, yeah.
Yep.
That was one of the. We had a cylinder grinder, but not a bed knife grinder.
Okay.
And my point to the board was, we're doing half a job.
Yeah.
You're putting your bed knife on, and it says it's been.
You're sharpening one of the 2 blades of a pair of scissors, right?
Yeah. And you're putting your bed knife on, and it says it's been factory ground, but what's your sole plate?
It doesn't match with the real.
Once you bolt it to your sole plate,
it's all out of whack. Yeah.
So, yeah.
You've got to marry those 2 surfaces up precisely.
Yep. Exactly. So we got a bed knife grinder, and now we grind every 4 weeks for our greens, roughly 6 to 8 weeks for tees and surrounds. And last year we actually got through the whole summer only grinding the fairways once, and they were still sharp.
Yeah, wow.
But we're obviously always trying to improve our processes, and my mechanic's got a lot of work to do, and he's very good at what he does, but the equipment was in a very ordinary state when I got here. So we're trying to get on top of servicing and other things, and I just can't keep throwing cylinders at him to grind.
Not literally, people, because they do weigh 50 plus kilos each, but...
So, yeah, grinding's a huge part too, because if you can cut that leaf dead straight, you minimise the surface area that's potentially going to get infected by pathogens. So we don't want to tear, we want to cut. And then rolling, well, there's been studies done, and I'm a big fan of Thomas Nicolai, and I have his book. And you can reduce thatch with rolling, you can reduce disease. I wasn't aware of it, Steve, as much as I should have been, because we've been quite busy recently with a number of things.
Pretending to do work, mate? Come on.
With a number of things in the club, but I actually sat down and had a look at my agronomic program, which I normally do, maybe not nightly, but a few times a week, because that's what I really enjoy.
On top of it. Yep.
And we've only applied 3 fungicides in the last 16 weeks.
Only 3? Hang on, that's through all of winter?
For 16 weeks, yeah.
You've only had 3 applications?
Yep. 3 applications of fungicide.
And we had a wet winter.
Yeah, we probably weren't as wet as Sydney.
Yeah, but you still had, it hangs around. Low light, right, with a cloud and overcast.
Heavy soils.
Heavy soils, wet air.
Yep.
Even if you didn't get rain, its humidity is pretty high. It's been a great year out here.
Yeah.
So it's wetter than normal. I'm talking, a lot of my time was in dry years. So you've had a wetter than normal winter.
Yeah.
So automatically you're in a threshold of, we're going to run into some problems. And you've only put out 3 fungicide applications through that time frame.
Yeah, so when I first came out here, I probably had the Sydney mindset and high humidity. Like, I understand, like, every site's unique.
Yep.
I'm not trying to say you can do this everywhere. It's not. Same with the power, my love of power and stuff. I'm not saying it's for everyone. But, yeah, I came out here and I obviously new superintendent, didn't want to fall on my face, so I've protected myself with fungicides and stuff. And over time I thought, it obviously costs money, and I try to treat this place as if it's my own property. If I wouldn't buy it for my own property, why am I buying it for the club?
Yep.
And that's where I think we make a lot of savings. We don't just buy things because word of mouth says they're good. I want to see data and I want to see results. So, yeah, I've backed the fungicides right off, and I basically said to the boys, I want to see some disease. And
you got to find your threshold.
Yeah, exactly. And we haven't seen disease. I've just got weak in the knees. And apply.
You're a bit edgy already, backing it down, and you go, how far do I go before I start to... Yeah, that's the instance of... What's your threshold of having disease, and what's the threshold that you can go to without getting it? So when you get some, is it too much? When do you apply? How do you apply? Do you want nothing? Do you want a little bit? Everyone's got their own different... They've got to work it out for themselves, right?
Well, I don't want anything, but at the same time, I want to make the plant stronger too, and with all these things like the grinding program and not ripping the leaf, using the roller more often, and in winter, when you're not getting that growth naturally, what's the point of cutting? So at least when we're rolling, we're taking the dew off.
Yep.
rather than sending dew brooms out. So we're creating a smooth surface, which is what the golfers want.
Yep.
Ultimately, that's what the golfers want. So, yeah, with all these processes kind of intertwined, we're creating a healthier plant. Now, if you get someone that's really healthy and grind them for a week doing 80 hours, 100 hours, they're probably going to come through that week okay. If you get an unhealthy person and do that, they're probably going to be in hospital.
Someone who's got exactly right.
Yeah.
Someone who's already unwell, that's it. And
So my philosophy is creating healthy grass and, let the grass fend for itself to a degree. And if it stumbles or trips or something happens, then we'll come in and give it some fungicide.
Yep.
But yeah, I was actually quite shocked. I was like, gee, do I need to spray this week? I'm still undecided. I think I'll push the limit another week. But
well, I want to then touch on that mentality to some extent, because I go back to the choice of grass for greens, power. A lot of people will know, and they'll have the mindset of, and they'll think about memories or what they've been told, what they've learned, that power, winter grass, is the problem child of the turf world. It will just throw the toys out of the cot. It'll have a dummy spit, middle child syndrome. It's like, I've had enough. I've got the snotty nose. and it will get a cold when it's beautiful temperatures, or it'll be fine when it's not. It will do all sorts of things, and I find, and even I was in that boat to a certain extent, so I can speak from that point of view, where you are on edge, because as soon as it's overcast or misty and the temperatures are down in springtime or autumn as a classic, you go, where's the fusarium?
Yeah.
Like, we're going to get, in summertime, where's the dollar spot? It's coming, because if anything's going to show it, it's going to be power.
Yep.
But you're saying that through all of these other cultural practices, to minimise the possibility of pathogen coming into the plant and to maximise the health of the overall health of the plant, you've gone through a period of winter when I know full well, I could tell you what the weather conditions would have been at home in the mountains, and fusarium would come in overnight. You could go and see the mycelium growing if you wanted to. It would be that quick.
Yep.
And POA is known for that. But here you are saying you're doing all these things and you're not getting that result. Because a lot of people would be going, I don't want POA because I just know it's a disease-ridden grass, it's a problem child to deal with, it's bumpy. And you're methodically going through these problems and resolving them, essentially.
Trying to.
In your own way.
Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely.
That's what I wanted to talk about. That's what we're here for, because these are the questions that a lot of people will be asking. You're going to get disease if you're going to have 100% POA grass.
Yeah, and we have had disease on them.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But is it...
Minimal. But my apprentice, I think he's only seen disease once, or even only mycelium. No, but he's been at TAFE, and they said, oh, what disease have you seen on your greens? And he's like, none.
None.
And it's like, what do you mean?
and they'd be going, well, you're not looking hard enough.
Yeah.
Or you don't know what you're looking for.
Oh, your superintendent's obviously on a preventative program.
Yeah.
And when I first got here, yes, I was. It's not absolutely, but since then we've changed some things, strengthened the grass, and now we're still preventative to a sense, especially in times when the grass will be more susceptible. Like, I always put a pythium out before renovations.
Yep.
You know, we're going to have sand sitting on them. They're going to be wet for 4 or 5 days, etc. Of course, I'm going to do that. But yeah, we're more at the stage now where we're going to be curative. But I mean, there's not a lot wrong with that, in my opinion.
I think you're being a hard taskmaster if you said there was something wrong with that. They're as good as anything. There's no blemishes on there from any disease. Looking at those, what we've seen this morning, what I've been looking at, and I'm not trying to, blow smoke either, but they're the facts. And I know that a lot of people listening to these conversations, and a lot of them, I've got to be honest, will probably be golfers and committee people that aren't turf managers that have only heard that POA is a problem grass when it comes to disease. And you're talking about doing these cultural practices, and I want to lean into plant growth regulators as well, because that's a part of your equation too.
Yep.
But it's about not cutting grass, because that's minimising, keeping the plant healthy, but minimising the open instances. Like if you cut your hand open, what's the first thing you do? You try and cover it up, keep it clean so it doesn't get infected. Every time we go out and cut, we're cutting the plant open.
Yep.
And there's a lot of plant there.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of cuts across those hands that if you're not trying to keep them clean, we don't. They stay wet in the mornings.
Yep.
So we are, talk about creating a rod for your own back.
Well, it's also, and we'll talk about plant growth regulators. We'll go for a drive and see if we can find a gap on 13. And the other big thing about POA is people say it's got no root system.
Yep.
So I've got my probe here. I might live
Shallow roots.
I might live to regret this, but I'm hoping we'll pull a probe out, and you'll be surprised with the density and the length of our roots. But yeah, so plant growth regulators, I do. That's probably the big thing that I spray a lot of. I don't advocate it for people to go out and try silly rates, but I go to the higher end of the spectrum when you get a range with, for example, Trinexia ethyl or paclobutrazole. It's one of those things, like I say, if I can shut that grass down and keep it just like a billiard table, well, that's exactly what I want.
That's what you want to do, right?
And
there are risks associated with that, in the fact that you could shut everything down altogether and they can become very quick very easily.
Well, that's right.
That's really the crux of the problems that you can cause from that.
They can. Yes, absolutely. But again, if they're not growing and they're too quick, you can just either add a little bit of water or let them grow up and raise your height of cuts.
Yeah, okay, yep.
But that doesn't fix the problem then and there. The other side of it too is if you get damage, if you sustain damage.
That's right, it's not going to recover at all.
So the other good thing too about having healthy grass, and this is what my guys have noticed and mentioned to me, is we had a fuel spill last week.
Okay.
A hose split in my spray rig, and unfortunately I didn't pick up on it quick enough, and a few greens had drips of fuel on them.
Right.
But a turf manager could probably point them out, but they haven't died. They've just stained the grass and it's actually recovering. And the guys are like, how has this happened? Like,
yeah, right.
Why hasn't the grass died? And we've had a hydraulic leak about a year ago, and it was bad. I was like, uh-oh. It was every run, it kind of fell down onto the rollers of the mowers, and I use Wiley rollers. So you get 4 or 5 lines across the green every run, and I thought, we're probably in a bit of trouble here.
Yeah.
And again, we didn't sustain damage. We marked up, like you could visually see it, but
it didn't kill anything.
Nothing went down to dirt.
So what do you put that down to?
Luck. I don't know, the big man upstairs. No. I think creating that healthy plant.
Okay.
The healthier the plant is. Oh, look, I don't know, Steve.
I don't know. It's an interesting situation because, first thing, as soon as it touches that grass, normally you'd say it's going to be dead.
Absolutely.
Dead the next day.
Absolutely. And we'll go over and have a look at it. It wasn't on this green, but we'll go over and have a look at another green. But come on, don't prove me wrong here. Let's see what the root system's like here. And I'm in beautiful native soil here.
Yeah, righto.
So it's like a cricket wicket. But if I pull that out, like that plug's holding together at what, 2 inch, 2.5 inch?
Yeah, it is. It's about 2 inches.
Yeah, so that's not terrible in my book. It could be better, absolutely. But I've had hole changes come out at about 4 inches, and you see the white roots, especially in the cord.
From POA?
Yeah.
Wow.
Especially in the cord columns.
Oh, yeah. Once you get that oxygen right in.
Yeah, so
open corridors.
Yes. And I can show you those photos.
Yeah, wow, that's cool.
But like that's a lot of moisture.
Yeah, it is.
Like if we're sitting at, and numbers are different for everyone. I hate talking numbers because they're so site
different
specific.
Soils, different, thatch levels, different everything.
But on a day like today where it's going to get to 20 degrees, if we're sitting at 18%, they'll probably drop down to about 8, 10%.
Yeah.
And they'll be real shiny.
Yeah.
But they'll get through the day. So yeah, we can lose about 10% of moisture, and 2.5 inches of root system will be fine. Because the big thing about moisture for me is it's how wet and soft you make them, and obviously going back out there with a hose and interfering with golf. These don't feel soft to me.
No, they're not soft to walk on at all. I don't know, not footprinting, not anything.
We use penetrance.
Okay, yep.
And we pull quite hard.
Yep.
So again, another theory of mine is let's pull the water away from the surface, but we'll also put a holding wetting agent with it, and we try to hold it about that 2.5, 3 inches down. That's off the back of the green.
Yeah, she's going to keep going. Nice shot there.
That's what I like seeing though. Like, you know, it shouldn't just be target golf.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, it's golf, right?
Yeah.
This is what golf is as a sport. And I think golfers, like I said, I go back to, we're reluctant to blame ourselves for anything that happens to our own game. But golfers have got to remember that a golf course isn't about making it simple and easy. There are challenges to each hole. They don't always have to be like beating yourself around the head.
So that's landed 10 metres short of the green, and it's off the back.
Just go off the back, I think. Maybe just hold.
She's yelling at it to stop.
I know. Oh, it's on the edge, right on the boundary.
I'd say that's off.
But that's rolled nicely.
Yeah.
And it hasn't. That's not an unfair bounce either. She
No.
landed it just before the green, and
But what makes a good golfer? Is it a good golfer, the one that can play target golf, or is it one that can adapt to the conditions?
well, and that's the thing. It's an outdoor sport. They're played across all different venues, all different shapes and sizes, and there's all different elements of challenge to each golf course and each golf hole. And I think we need to remember, as a golfer, when we go out there and play golf, that we're always going to be playing to moving goalposts. It's a moving target every time we go out and play, even if it's the same golf course.
Yep.
That's the challenge of golf.
Absolutely.
And that's what makes it so much fun. Like I said, it's not like you're making it where they turn up to hit a shot to a green and they just get hit in the head, because it's impossible. But there's a fair challenge there. And for that particular hole, what's that one?
That was 13.
13.
That's probably my favourite hole in the course.
So for that, that comes down from the club, doesn't it?
Yeah.
For that particular hole, there's a narrow-ish chute. It's not too narrow, but between the two bunkers on the approach to the green. So, mate, if you don't mind, when I was here last, we talked, you were kind enough to show me your program that you've got for your greens in spraying and your maintenance program of how you look after them with different types of applications across the board, whether it be herbicides and fungicides and plant growth regulators. What I noted was, and I've said this to a lot of people as well, I never had a spray tank my whole career as a superintendent. As a greenkeeper, didn't have one. So I don't know what it means to have that luxury, but I also don't know what it means to be able to utilise it well. And in plant growth regulator days, we talk about growing degree days, and I've recently learned about what the hell that is. But there's a lot of information, a lot of planning on your part to build a program for your golf course in the way that you want to manage your greens. Plant growth regulators, in short, for people that don't know, that are listening, is it retards the growth of the plant so that you don't have these big flushes and different speeds of greens throughout the days and the weeks and whatever. Even in different times of the day, it's more consistent. And you talked about that before, about delivering a consistent, healthy surface with it not growing and not having to be cut so much. So, mate, there's a lot of homework in there that I know that you've done. Can you tell us a bit about what goes into, I suppose, developing a program of using your plant growth regulators around what you're trying to achieve?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first point I'll make, Steve, is I write all my own programs.
Yep.
I think if I'm the one that's going to stand in front of the board and be accountable to the surfaces out here, I want to know exactly what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. Now, I'm not saying that you can't have someone else write your program or give you directional guidance, but yeah, I write all my own programs and I know my environment quite well. So yeah, I like data, absolutely love data, but at the same time, I feel like as turf managers, we can drift away from turf management with too much data, like soil tests and growing degree days and all these kind of things. I think there's an aspect where you need to be able to look at your grass and feel it and have a sixth sense almost. Because back in the day when Paul Latchaw Senior was managing grass, he would hand water, with like a physical probe, not a numbered probe.
Yep.
Where we're going these days, and he would hand water all these greens by himself. You listen to his podcasts, and like that takes real skill.
Yep. That's experience and skill.
Absolutely. I like the probes that shoot data at you because I can take untrained staff, non-qualified, and it's no disrespect to them, but I can say to them, can you go out and probe greens and even give them maps or whatever and say if the number comes in under 15, give it water. If it's over 15, don't touch it.
Yep.
And then it doesn't matter how hard you squeeze a physical plug, and people might say, oh yeah, that's wet. I might say that's dry.
Yep.
There's an interpretation. Exactly. So yeah, I like it for that kind of thing, but I think we need to have our feet on the ground and we need to be looking and feeling what's going on with our turf surfaces.
Sure.
So I monitor clipping yield through our catches. Whenever we mow, whenever we empty our catches, we take photos. We're not at the stage where we weigh our clippings. It's something that I'd probably like to do, but again, with a small crew, constantly under pressure, not enough time in the day, it feels like, it slows the processes down. So we just take photos, and then I can see, like today, for example, I cut all the greens with perimeters, and we got half a catcher off our greens. I'll just pull up a photo now and show you. But that was off all our greens today. That photo there. Half a catcher of grass.
Dude, in my day where I used to work, where I was brought up, we were doing full catches on one green. That's half catches on 18 or 19 greens.
Yeah, I couldn't handle.
That's incredible. There was at one point a 400 square metre green, I remember 9, when I was an apprentice, and I didn't get through the green before I had to empty catches.
Yeah.
Like seriously. That was how we did it back then, and that's how the superintendent that I learned under, how he managed, and that's a pinpoint of a moment in time in the year as well. So bearing that in mind too, that wasn't just in general.
Yep.
But we've come so far in what we can do to plants and how we can manage them, and we've learnt from lots of things.
Absolutely.
And you're doing that here on site with the tools at your disposal and what you've learnt and what you've understood, down to that point where, go back to your line, your goal is not to cut much grass really at all.
That's right.
And put the plant under stress.
Yeah, so I can go 2 or 3 days without cutting,
Yep.
and we might get a full catcher off all our greens.
Yep.
I can stomach that. I can't stomach a catcher every 6 greens. That hurts.
Even as a superintendent, I'd sit there and I go, and it's funny how experience does so much to what like I look at it now and I go, you're right. So what was I doing 15 years ago? What was I thinking? Emptying catches every 3 greens.
But in 20 years' time, people will look at me and go, I can't believe he was doing that.
And this is how the art of greenkeeping evolves, right? It's an art unto itself, to each individual golf course. It's really fascinating to hear this mindset. And again, I really do appreciate you sharing. A lot of people won't share what you're sharing, mate. So I really do appreciate you doing this, because it gives another angle to a way of doing things.
Yep.
And this is your way of doing things at this site. And
Absolutely.
I think that's important as well.
Yeah. That's right. And like you say, it's an art, and that's where I think we need to have our feet on the ground, and we need to, it sounds weird, but it's like I can walk across these greens and I can sense what they want, what they do,
100%.
and I know where they're at.
You can feel them, you can look at them, and you'll do these things, and I know you'll do them without even knowing that you're doing them, but you'll walk or drive around a green to a certain side.
Yeah.
To get the sun on that angle, and you'll walk to the other side and get the sun from the different angle, to know because there's a difference in the angle of the sun and what it shows you on the way that the leaf is rolled.
Absolutely.
And the way it's laying down on what you can see with an area that might be a little bit drier, a little bit wetter, and I've seen some of that this morning. You'll do that subconsciously, and your eyes and your brain will be working that as you walk or drive around a green, and that's what an apprentice doesn't know that you're doing unless you explain it to them. If they see you happen, do you know what I mean?
And that's what keeps me accountable, and I really love this side of it. My guys aren't qualified.
Yep.
They're good. They're really good guys for not being qualified.
Yep.
they probably should be.
Yep.
But it makes me think about all those little things that I take for granted. I've got to pass on. So I might see them out there early on in their time, and I'll be like, what are they doing? They're wasting time there or there. And I'm like, if you look into the sun, you can see where it's dry. Or, you step on it with your foot, and if it's footprinting you.
Yep.
And these things have forced me to remember and educate my team to become more efficient again. So I'll get them to park in the rough near the green. They'll walk on. They'll purposely park on the side that the sun's shining at. They'll walk on, have a quick look and go, this one's fine. See you later. Like if we don't need to probe, we don't probe.
Yep.
So sometimes we'll take a number, depending on the confidence level of the staff member.
Yep.
But we might just run in, take a number, and they might be like, oh, gee, that looks shiny. Probe it, 22. Oh, sweet.
It's good.
I'm out of here.
Yep, I'm off.
So, yeah, I look at a whole heap of different things, but I think feet on the ground, eyes, you can look at data for a certain point, but you need to be on the ground.
Yep.
There's an art to growing grass.
Yep.
So yeah, I look at the catches and look at the clipping yield, but then I also look at the weather and the predicted forecast and manage my growing degree days. So whatever that may be for different products, whether it's 200, 220, 300, etc. But I'll keep putting that data in and monitoring when I should and shouldn't be applying growth regulators. And I'm like, we're on a 2-weekly cycle at the moment. So we'll do a foliar application one week and then a soils application the next week at the moment. And those numbers are working out quite well. We're probably not quite hitting our growing degree days.
Yep.
So that's fine. I'll just wind the screws back a little bit on the rate.
Yep.
Because I won't go full rate if we haven't hit the mark. But then obviously you've got a band of what you can spray, 1 litre to 4 litres or whatever it may be. Well, what's your full rate? So that's where I'm looking at the clipping yield and the catches. So seeing today that half to 3/4 full catches, I'll probably go about 800 mil this week with Trinexipac ethyl because that's starting to get a little bit too much.
Yep.
And I want these things shut down for our women's and men's open.
Yep.
And then we go into renovation. So I'll try to get it. I've actually worked backwards, like I spoke about in the other podcast, work away from renos, or my brother with his shearing, work away from lambing or shearing and that, so that you get maximum benefit from the process. So I'll go back to what's predicted to be 200, 300 growing degree days and go, right, bang, that's my last at.
Yep.
And then as we get closer to that, I'll look at the weather, and if it's going to be overcast and cloudy, I might go a little bit earlier because the temperatures aren't quite there. If it's going to be really warm, I might drop it back a little bit later, or I might tweak those rates up a little bit more. So yeah, we're trying to be really, really precise. There's things that we can do better, absolutely. We can always learn and do that. But yeah, the fact that, what height do you think these are at? Like, and it's funny, a height thing, this comes into plant health too. Like a lot of people go lower and lower. And look at me, I'm at 2.7, I'm at 2.5.
Under 3 mil, yeah, that's right.
Exactly
How
right.
far under 3 mil can you go?
Yeah.
Yep.
And to a degree, I used to be like that a little bit because that's the way I was trained. And then I thought, if I can get green speeds of whatever my members are happy with, and I can be at 5 mil.
You are so far ahead of the game.
The plant's so much healthier.
Yeah, absolutely. That is just the best thing. If anyone listening can take anything out of this conversation so far, that is the one line that I want them to take, because the longer the leaf and the more leaf blade there is, the healthier the plant could possibly be.
Yep.
It gives it more surface area for sun. Because at the end of the day, every plant's a solar panel, and that's how it generates its sugars, and that's how they grow. If you can get a longer leaf and still produce a smooth, correct pace surface, and I use that term specifically because it's whatever's relevant to the membership in the club and the course that you're after, you win if it's the longest leaf. If you can do it at 10 mil, not that anyone can, then that's a win as far as I'm concerned, because it means your plant's going to be able to deal with stresses so much better than it will if it's at 8, and it can if it's at 6, and it can if it's at 4, than it can if it's at 2.
Well, that's right.
That's my opinion.
Yep.
And I think that you've just hit that on the head. So sorry to jump in, but
that's right.
If anyone can take anything from anything we've talked about so far, that would be a huge goal in my mind.
My biggest thing is resistance is the enemy. And that's why I like power, because it's so upright. And it doesn't matter if it's a little bit longer, if you've got like that smooth cut. where bent grass folds over, and
Yep.
that's when you get long leaf, and that's when you get disturbance, and you've got to go lower to a degree.
Yep, 100%.
But if I'm shutting this plant down with growth regulators, I've got it healthy as it is, even though I'm spraying fungicides at the moment every 4 or 5 weeks, roughly, if I'm not cutting the fungicide out.
Yeah, good
So
point.
that fungicide's lasting longer too, so I'm getting more value for
It's
money.
staying longer in the plant, yep.
So all these little things that has taken us 1.5 to 2 years since coming here and getting everyone on board is maximising the health and the benefit of the turf. So you've seen the ball roll today.
Yep.
You've seen the speed of them today. We're not in championship conditions by any means, but what do you think the height of the grass is by looking at
The
it?
way it looks, I'm guessing you're at probably, I'm going to say, it looks around 3.25 mil to me. 3.25 mil.
Okay.
That's what it looks like. That's what it seemed like when it was rolling.
Yep.
Had really good pace, reasonably firm, so probably not a lot of canopy. That's how it looks. I'm going to go with that.
Yep, with the prism and everything put in, we're at a true height of 3.5 mil.
Okay. There you go. Longer.
Yeah. So
Longer than that. Okay.
and I was questioned by my guys, and I love it. I love them asking questions. No questions silly. Don't think you can't question me because I'm the boss.
Yeah.
I hate that term actually, the boss. I'm the leader, I
Yep.
guess. I'm steering the ship, but we're all working together. But they said, why aren't you dropping the heights down? We've got our opens coming up. I'm like, what's wrong with the pace?
Yeah, that's what normally, so traditionally I would have said that you'll drop them down to 3.
Yeah, well, like last year for the ladies qualifier, we were down at 2.8.
Yeah, right. They went under 3.
And they were electric. And we produced the same conditions for the final round of the women on the Wednesday men's comp to give them,
Yep.
to show them what the women were dealing with.
Yep.
And my membership, they love the smoothness. They love the idea of the speed, but the scores were
But
horrific.
they couldn't handle the speed.
No.
You can't handle the speed.
So we had to wind it back, but we're in a far healthier position now than what we were then.
Yeah. Well, you've got 3/4 of a mil back.
I'm-
Almost.
I'm cautious that if I drop to 3 mil over a period of 2, 3, 4 weeks, we'll be too fast.
Can I be rude and ask do you know what pace they're at right now? Is it 3.5?
At 3.5.
Yep.
No,
It's okay.
no,
if you
it's
don't
all
want-
right.
no,
I don't like giving the stimp away,
No,
but
no, that's okay.
at 3.5 mil over the last 6 weeks,
Yep.
we've been in between 10.5 and 12.
Okay, righto. So I would say that's a really good pace.
Yeah, there's a sweet spot in there for my membership,
Absolutely.
and part of it's learning and taking in positive and criticism as well.
Yeah.
Positive feedback and criticism.
But that speed will adjust as well, depending on where you want it to go with the height. You're working your plant growth regulators, and your height will combine
Yep.
to get you what you need. So height isn't always, and rolling, of course, that's a big one. I'm a big fan of rolling and what it does to a putting surface. You're using those particular 3 practices to deliver a green speed, and height of cut does not relate 100% to the outcome of green speed.
No.
So, and that's what I want people to understand when they hear us talking about it. That's why I asked the speed right now, because you could be at 3.5 in a month's time, and it will be at whatever the speed is that you're looking for.
Yep.
If indeed you have it at 3.5 to achieve that desired speed on the greens.
That's right. And if I get into a position where I feel like I've hit a brick wall and I can't squeeze them anymore,
Yep.
because there's more moisture going on because we're hotter or whatever it may be, I've got that luxury of going down up to 3/4 of a mil.
Yep.
But yeah, you think about 3 mil, even if we're at 3.3, that's 10% extra leaf.
Yeah, that's the big part, right?
That's
if you go, yeah, that's a big difference in what the plant has in its own ability to continue to live, deal with stresses, grow, maintain its life, all of those things. We're asking it to live and live well at X height, whatever that height is.
Yep.
Whatever we want to cut that leaf to produce a speed and smoothness of a putting surface that we desire. And there's a lot of challenges in that.
Absolutely.
And going back to the plant growth regulator, your frequency of rolling, your height and frequency of cutting, they're all the dials you're going to turn. And you'll just continue to oh wow, it's full. and you'll just continue to tweak them and monitoring your growing degree days relative to when your next applications are due, and your heat stresses on the forecast and rains on the forecast and sunlight on the forecast, and you'll just tweak your dials. And that's the art of greenkeeping. That to me, that's the art of the greenkeeping. That's greenkeepers being greenkeepers.
Yep. No, you got to use every tool in your toolbox.
Yep.
But yeah, I just looking and feeling and walking on the grass you can't replace that. And
no, you can't. And I've seen my old man, Dad, was a store manager for one of Australia's largest supermarket chains. Dad used to always, I remember we used to go to work with him from time to time, but every day he would walk the floor, get to see what the shop was doing, walk the floor, understand where it was at, what he wanted to do, what was on, what they were looking for, blah, blah, blah. But he was hands-on, would greet the staff every morning, go and he had his routine.
Yep.
And I don't think you can ever, and I've heard that from other people, and I'll say other people that I know that are good managers in their respective industries that are on site or on the floor, or they have you need to be out there. You need to be in it. You need to see it. You need to touch it, see it for your own eyes, to know that's your job. You know more than anyone else what it feels like, what it looks like, what you want it to feel like, and what you want it to look like to get the best outcome that you're trying to achieve. And you can't do that if you're not out there. And I'm not saying you need to. Is that a hare? Yeah, it is. That's a big one. That's a big one.
It's like
Looks
small
like it's
dog.
going to tackle somebody. I just think that as a superintendent, it's important, and I'm not saying you need to be out there 7 days a week, but a lot of us are. Or I say us. There you go. I'm still old head. I still consider myself as a super every now and then. Nothing replaces that, like you said. Nothing replaces being out there and seeing it, walking on it, touching it, looking at it up close from a distance, from here. What are we? 60 metres, 50 metres?
Yeah, 60, yeah.
That will give you something.
Data's fantastic. It really is.
Yeah, but it's not everything.
I think if you just sit on data, I don't know, it's kind of like AI and autonomous mowers and stuff like that. I'm not saying it's a bad avenue or anything. It's got its place, and over time, the teething issues will...
Yeah. But they're a tool.
Yeah, exactly right. They're a tool. But one of my guys said, would you ever get a GPS sprayer? And I said, not yet. I'm not convinced yet, because an autonomous mower would probably be a better example, but even a GPS sprayer, I want my guys to be good sprayers. I've seen some good sprayers in the industry, and I've seen some not so good sprayers.
Yep.
And I think that can make a lot of difference.
Yeah.
One thing is driving it and it flicking nozzles on and off and whatever, but if you can get a human to spray greens and have near perfect overlap, and you've got far more control, I think, and you've got the human element where if a tyre goes flat or this or that, or
anything goes wrong,
you can see the bar pressure change. Or I think we're still going to have some teething issues, but I think it will be a tool that we can use down the track. Maybe for me, that'd be good on fairways.
Yeah, sure.
But greens, I love having control of the greens.
Yep.
Autonomous mowers, it rolling around doing its thing. But when it gets to a stick, it, stops and beeps. And if you've got an operator on there, they can jump off and get it. You don't have to send someone out.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. I think everything has a place. Everything that we continue to develop in our industry is a tool. But I think they are a tool, they're not a replacement. And I think that, for me, that's important. I think we've got some magnificent tools coming out of the industry. More and more, I think the soil probes, moisture probes in greens are an incredible tool. I think where we're going with GPS sprayers, with autonomous mowers, I think they're all incredible tools that will help us do our job better and better all the time, because they're always going to be refined in that way. But nothing is ever a replacement. And I think some people, unfortunately, view them as a replacement. And I think that's the wrong attitude to have. I've had conversations with other supers around, and I know Andrew Anderson's a superintendent down at Ranfurly, who's right into his his autonomous gear and his AI and understanding how those tools can be utilised for him in his situation, and we've had great conversations about it. But at the same time, we were talking about them, they're a tool.
Yes.
They're a tool to do your job better. And I think if you view them in that way, you're using tools to become a better turf manager. That, to me, that's the end of it. That's the end of everything. We're just trying to be better at what we do.
Absolutely.
So, and it doesn't mean that all of those tools are a right fit for every golf course and every turf manager either.
No.
Nothing is a straight fit, but they're available.
But going back to like being feet on the ground and stuff, I think the position of superintendent's changed over the years, and especially at big clubs, superintendents are in the meetings more often, and
there's
on
more
their computers.
meetings, more meetings, more types of meetings.
Exactly right. But like I always go back to, well, why did I start this job and why am I doing it? Well, I'm a turf manager. I want to grow good turf, and it's hard to do that from behind a computer.
Yeah.
And board meetings can wait, and I'll produce board reports and whatever, but ultimately at the end of the day, if I need to be on the ground, well, that board report waits. So, yeah, especially too with a crew that, like I said, they're very good at what they do, but they want guidance. They get confidence in that. If I'm out there with them, they're more confident. If they get sent off to do a job by themselves, sometimes they're hesitant. Well, what would Craig want? Yep. And that's always a hard thing for an assistant or a crew member. Like I remember at Bonnie Doon with Cam, like we had different ways of thinking and we bounced off each other, and that place was really good. But when Cam wasn't there at times and I had to make a call, it wasn't what do I think's right, it was what would Cam want. And sometimes that's hard to guess.
No, it is
because everyone's different, and you've got different trains of thought and different ways to get to the end goal. And I would hate to be locked up in an office.
Yeah, and again, I think I go back to the art of greenkeeping. I've actually had a conversation with a general manager somewhere. I don't remember who or where, but I remember the conversation. It stuck in my head because it was about describing greenkeeping as dark arts, and this person struggled with that because they didn't have control and they couldn't understand what was being done out in the golf course. So they wanted to bring it away from the art of greenkeeping and into numbers, so that anyone could do it, so that they could understand what was going on and they didn't have to rely on their superintendent and being told this is why we do stuff and this is why we need these things. And I think if you go down that avenue, and I'm not saying that's wrong and that might have worked for that particular person and that particular arrangement, but I don't believe that if you boil greenkeeping down to numbers, you're going to get the right outcome. I think greenkeeping will always be an art, and whilst ever you're dealing with Mother Nature and whilst ever you're dealing with plant life, I think that's a skill and an understanding of plants and the environment and Mother Nature that is what makes it an art. And I don't believe no matter how far we get down the road of boiling it down to numbers, we'll ever achieve the same results and the same outcomes as a good turf manager. And I think there'll always be a role for turf management by people. Yeah, that's just my own personal view.
Yep.
So mate, we're on hole
three.
It was close. Getting there. I knew it was down the front. We're on hole 3 on the green. And can you give us a bit of an insight into what your renovations look like for predominantly power greens in your location here in Orange? What do you do?
Okay, yeah, so there's a bit of background there, Steve. I am a big believer that we're producing a surface for our members and their guests.
Yep.
So I believe that we should present the best service we can year round on a day-to-day basis, week-to-week basis, etc. So I want to impact golf as little as possible. So like most golf clubs do 2 renovations a year.
Yep.
Same out here in the country. When I first got here, they did 2. But the way it works in the country, because of revenue streams, etc., the club would shut the front 9, for example, on Monday, and you'd do renovations on it. The back 9 would be open.
Yep.
And then on the Tuesday, they'd open the front 9 and you'd do renovations on the back 9. So I'm not used to that. I'm used to the course shutting for 3 days, 4 days.
Yeah, right. The luxury of private golf courses.
Yeah. the fairways have never been pulled a hollow core. They've
Okay.
only had like homemade tines, Rio bar punched into them.
Yeah, right.
At times.
So solids, basically,
yeah,
just
solids.
opening them up.
So I wanted to get some oxygen into them and pull some soil out and basically give them a top dress when you move that soil around.
Break it down. Yep.
So I went to the board and asked, can I have one renovation a year? And they kind of looked at me like I had two heads and said, one? Don't you need two? And I'm like, well, you need what you need. And I think I can manage these greens with one renovation a year. So since I'm taking front 9 closed, back 9 closed, and then at the second renovation, front 9, back 9, can I just have 2 full days? The whole course is closed.
And that's it, just one time a year.
Yep, one time a year. So anyway, they agreed to that because we've lost no extra revenue.
Yep.
So we run our women's open and our men's open at the end of October, early November, and then about a week later we run renovations. So what I do with the greens, we start on the Sunday afternoon. We punch 12 mil hollows into them and pull the cores out. And then we pick those cores up and use them around the golf course, whether it be bare areas or, in this case, if we're ready to go this year, we'll put them on the spare green surface.
Yeah, do another green, yep.
And grow a green in. In my first year, we put them on the nursery green.
Yep.
Because that, obviously we spoke about it was Pencross. It was a poor soil, so at least if I put the cores on there, we're getting the same maturity of plant, the same soil structure for the depth of the turf cutter, etc., etc.
Yep.
So I've actually jumped the gun there a little bit. So what we do is we verticut the greens, 2 directions, at about 3 mil negative.
Yep.
Then we mow them, and we pick up as much grass as we can. Because again, I'm limited with staffing numbers. Like I'd love to blow every extra leaf blade off and all this, but unfortunately it just doesn't work like that. So we verticut, mow, then we core. And then we pick up the cores, remove them, and then we'll top dress with WM sand out of Maruta.
Okay.
So, and then we'll rub in, we'll add gypsum, and we'll water. So I don't tend to add any soil fertilisers.
Yep.
I'm more of a foliar guy. I like controlling the plant really closely because what's available in the soil and then the microorganisms breaking it down and the plant uptaking it, etc., etc. What I put on the leaf, if 80% of that's absorbed, well, I know what the plant's getting and I can control that a lot more and you don't get flushes of growth and everything else. So that renovation process, I allow 4 weeks. We're normally recovered in 3, but I allow 4 weeks for that renovation process to take place on the greens. So if I take 4 weeks off the golfing membership, that's 48 weeks of the year that ideally they have good conditions.
Yep.
And you can bring up the argument if they're not paying as much as the Sydney Golf. I don't care about that. They're paying a fee to play here. So I want to give them the most amount of time on the course as possible in the best conditions. I think if you start doing 2 or 3 or 4 renovations a year, you might need to do those things agronomically, and that's fine. If you need to do it, you need to do it.
If that's what your site requires,
Absolutely.
Under what you're trying to achieve,
But if you start doing 3 renovations a year, you've got to think you're taking 15, 16 weeks off the members. That's a lot of time.
Yeah, it's a lot of time away from good condition golf.
Yeah. And then, I've had the question raised before, will they get through a full year with only one renovation? Well, we're 4 weeks out from renovations,
So
and
you're literally nearly a year has ticked up, and
are they about to die?
And this is a funny question that I've heard from board, and I don't mean to jump in, and membership in general, is that some people might swing the other way as well and raise the argument. I've actually had that where I was not the superintendent, but where I was working, where you get to a year, or in our point, it was 6 months, and they go, greens look fantastic. Why are we doing anything at all?
Well,
I don't know if you've had that here, but that's the other thing. So people will say, they're as good as ever, so why are we going to mess them up again? And that comes back to regular maintenance.
The board are really, really good here. They support me and, they'll ask questions and
sure,
so they
and
should.
That's what they should do.
But I give them answers, and we went to 1 renovation a year, and then you get members that say, well, they're at their best, why are you doing it? I'm like, well, you're doing such an intensive management to them. You're punching holes in them, you're verticutting them, you're dumping sand on them, you're doing all these things. The plant has to be healthy. It's about to take a battering.
It needs to be at its peak.
Like if the green's half dead and you do renovations on it,
Yeah, it's not going to come out good. No.
Exactly right. So I'm trying to educate them that you actually need to do it when it's at its best.
Yep.
To a degree. And
yeah, well, you do. And in the right growing conditions, where feasible around what the club events are on, of course.
Yes.
But you're not going to do it in January.
No.
Out here with cool season pole greens. These are the facts. You've got to do it at the right time, as much as when the plant's got to be at its healthiest.
Yeah, and I got that off Steve Marsden. Actually, the plant comes first on the calendar. So when you're doing your yearly schedule, your turf management practices are your first thing to go on the calendar.
Yep.
And then you organise golf
around
around
the rest around that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's very important that clubs and club management and administration and everyone involved away from the golf course, but heavily in how a club is run, that understand that there are some basic requirements to get the most out of the turf on a golf course, and that is putting, in these instances, the turf first and build the rest of the program, the annual program or yearly program, around those particular requirements where feasible.
Yep. But like you say, oh gee, they're so good. Why do we have to renovate them? And I've basically said, well, that's why they are good.
Yep.
Because we've done that.
Yeah.
If we don't do renovations this year, I can't guarantee the health of the plant for the next year.
That's it. I say the same thing for everyone. Lots of people own cars. You go to the mechanic to get your regular maintenance done. When you stop doing that, you're basically driving it around waiting for it to conk out.
Yep.
And that's why you don't do that, because you can't afford to do that. You don't want it to stop running. You want to keep it running. So the same analogy applies to a golf course. A regular routine maintenance, some services are bigger than other services.
Yep.
You might, I don't know if maybe we'll touch on dusting as well, but some things require up on the hoist, big time work.
Yep.
Other things require, it might be an hour, 2 hours.
Absolutely. And yeah, obviously the greens get what they get. But last year, I had the women's qualifier that I had to consider, which was in the first week of December.
And that was the New South Wales women's qualifier.
No, sorry, it was mid-December. Yes, New South Wales women's qualifier.
Yep.
So that was in mid-December. So I went on the 11th of November. So I basically had four and a half weeks.
Yep.
And I was asked by a couple of people, can you guarantee me they'll be right? And I was like, well, the obvious answer is I can guarantee you death and taxes. But I said, weather dependent, if I get the right weather, they'll be right.
Yeah.
There's no dramas. And they were. About 3 weeks in, we had growth regulators on, we were cutting back down, we were ready to go. So if you do it at the right time and the plant's, in a good position to take that abuse, they will bounce back really quickly and really strong.
And that's an important note again, is that they are copping a hiding. You are stressing them out to the max. Yep. Really.
Absolutely. And I'll quickly touch on fairways before we go talk about dusting and stuff.
Yep.
So yeah, fairways, I get Daryl Davison up as a contractor, and he does roughly, I think it's about 1 hectare an hour, so 10 hectares of fairways, 10 hours worth of work, and he cores them for me.
Okay.
So we pulled the cores out. Then last year we were fighting a time against rain, and I did not want it to be a mud fest.
Yep.
So we use one of our machines to pull our drag mat.
Yep.
And we break all the cores up on the fairway.
Yep.
And then we go through and blow off the excess and start mowing.
Okay.
So, yeah, they were unbelievable after that. It was like they've had a new lease of life.
Nothing a bit of oxygen doesn't do.
Yeah. So
we all like to breathe, including plants.
Absolutely. So this year, depending on weather, we're going to change that up slightly. Instead of drag matting them, we want to scout them down.
Okay.
First with a rotary mower.
Yeah, righto. So cut them right back.
Yeah, and then we'll drag mat it, blow the excess off. So, and again, that blowing off process, we try to only blow it into the rough, so then we can maybe create a bit of a stand of South African in the rough.
Yeah.
And replenish that.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's what we do with the fairways. It's pretty basic, pretty simple. I've got a contractor in to do it. But Daryl's fantastic, but he sees another venue and we catch up. And
Yep. But you mentioned that it's pretty basic. Not everyone sees it that way. There's lots of people that will think that there's no need to even do that. But I think it's important that any turf surfaces that are maintained to any sort of standard for golf, I'm going to exclude rough to a certain extent on most golf courses, but if you're Oh, wow, look at that.
So this is the 5th.
Just unreal. But if you're maintaining a turf surface to any level, tees, fairways, surrounds, greens, I think it's important to try and achieve a goal of doing what you can to get the best out of them. And not every course can renovate their fairways by aerating them, but they might be able to do it biennially, as opposed to once a year, even twice a year, like the big courses. So maybe once every couple of years might be a good goal to start. So there's lots of clubs that will just go hands in the air too hard. And I think it's important to work towards goals to try and improve, always continuously improve. So I just thought I'd mention that, mate.
No, absolutely. So, yeah, that's been a good process for us, and it works really well. As fun as renovations can be, because, you know, we bring eskies in with drinks and chocolates and stuff and try to make a bit of a day of it. That was something I got off Peter Watts as well.
Yep.
Back in the day. You know, you try to make it enjoyable. It's nice to know you're only doing it once a year.
Yeah. For sure.
But yeah, so then throughout the year, what do we do? You mentioned dusting, so we don't dust. I don't dust.
So in terms, because
one reason is because I don't have the machinery. I've got a drop spreader, not a spinning spreader.
Spinning spreader, yep. Discs.
But I wouldn't dust even if I had that.
Okay, because there's lots of things that would say for people that would go, to get the best out of your greens, you've got to be dusting. I've never dusted, didn't have the equipment, didn't have the budget, so I never did it. I don't know. You're saying you don't do it here, and you've got your reasons for that. Part of it is machinery.
Part of it's machinery, yeah. So like, obviously you dust and then you water in, and you could argue that 95% of the sand goes into the canopy. That might be more true of bent grass.
Yep.
Poa's quite a...
It's a very dense
plant, and I like that. Dr. David Huff in the States, who is propagating this seed and doing that at Penn State, he doesn't go for the densest plant. He goes for somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
But I love the density, but it means the sand just can't work its way in. Like even at Renault's, when we put gypsum on it, like it's going in the holes, but
it's not going in through the canopy of the turf.
So, yeah, one, you're going to damage your mowers because you're not going to get rid of all the sand. So then that means they're on the grinders more often, which means, and sand on the surface too, you got to think if you're rubbing sandpaper on your skin, you're going to scratch yourself up. And again, you're opening that flesh, you're opening it 100%. Up to...
You're damaging the leaf blades.
Yeah, so I'm not a huge fan of dusting.
Okay.
I verticut.
Yeah,
quite
okay.
a lot.
Oh, that was my next part. What do you do?
So
verticut.
For argument's sake, say dusting disrupts the surface for 2 days.
Yep.
A day, 2 days, I don't know. I felt like it did at other places that I've worked. I felt like it took a couple of days for it to disappear and to get the smoothness back again. When we verticut, we're only going, like at Renault's we go -3 negative, but in normal conditions we go -1.
Okay.
We just tickle the leaf. I don't actually want to pull thatch. I don't want to pull soil or anything like that.
It's just thinning the canopy out.
That's it.
Yep.
Just basically lifting those bent grass leaves up.
Yep.
Because that's what I don't want.
Yep.
And just making sure they're not rolling over and laying over the top of the surface. By the time we put a mower on it, you can barely tell that we've been on it. So let's just say it's 1 day of disruption.
Yep.
And I pick a good day to do that, where we've got minimal golf or non-competition days, for example. I'm minimising my impact on the golfing experience.
Yep.
So again, like if you add up all these days of disruption to the greens, although it might only be minor, you might get to 3, 4, 5 weeks of the year, depending on what processes you do. And that means the golfer's losing that time to play an optimum surface.
Yep.
So I'm really focused on producing the best I can day in, day out, because whether someone travels half an hour from Forbes or 10 hours from Queensland or overseas, if someone comes here to play as a guest, I want them to have the best experience they can.
Yep.
I think that is my due diligence as the superintendent here. You know, my job is to produce the best I can.
That's it.
I don't feel right saying, I couldn't be bothered this week.
I'm
a bit tired.
I'm having a tough week. I haven't had a lot of sleep or whatever it might be. At the end of the day, you're trying to achieve the goal of maximising a good experience for anyone who comes here and turns up to play golf.
Absolutely.
Full stop. Doesn't matter what day of the week it is, what day of the year it is, without minimising the window of playing in an undisrupted golf course.
Yep. And that's why having those 2 full days of closure, we can be more productive. We can pull volunteers on the course and they can cut up some branches or fallen limbs or pick sticks up or whatever.
Yep.
It doesn't matter, but it's 2 days where we can't be hit by a golf ball.
Yeah.
It's safe to work. We can get a lot of stuff done.
Yep.
And we're being really efficient about it. So, they're my thoughts.
Yeah, very interesting, mate. Again, I love I was a big verti cutter. I used to love verti cutting. We would go and try and do it every fortnight at -2, I think we would do. 2 directions and then a clean-up cut. And, geez, we used to rip it out. I used to love it. And then at Renos, we would do scarifying at, however deep I could go without the machine stalling. We had a walk behind bowling green scarifier.
Yep.
And we used to pull out a 6x4 trailer full of stuff every green.
Yeah, wow.
Every green. 2 directions, as deep as I could go without it stalling. And we used to just hammer it. And I just found that good. We actually went away from, and it's just a different, again, another alternative, I went away from hollow tines altogether. And we had greens that were old push-up greens and mostly power surfaces. But to your mentality and your thought processes there of maximising the ability for the golf course to provide quality golf for people, I went away from Renos because I didn't want to disrupt golf. I wanted to do it a bit differently. So we were doing solid tines every 6 weeks during the growing season to keep them at 300 mil depth, 8 mil solids to just keep them open. Then I'd roll and you could just see a pinhole.
Yep.
So it didn't disrupt the golf ball, but it kept the surface open. A verti cut every fortnight, and we would scarify 2 directions at a loose Reno time, being in spring and autumn, sorry. But it was a different way of doing it. And I'm not saying that's right for everyone, and what you're saying isn't right for everyone, but you're doing a methodology that you've worked through to work towards your goals, but also get the best out of the surface.
Yeah, that's right.
And I think it's important through all of this conversation that people are listening to, that they understand that this is very specific to you and your site and your goals.
Yep.
And what you have at your disposal to achieve.
Yep.
Those outcomes with. So you can't transplant this idea to even Bathurst. You can't transplant this idea to a Bonnie Doon. You can't transplant it to a Sandy Links. You can't transplant it to a Bustleton. Mm-hmm. It's you, this golf course, and those goals and what you have at your disposal and what you're trying to achieve. And I think you have to critically think through all of those things to try and work out how you want to get to where you want to get to. Yep. So, and that's what's so good about this conversation. Again, I really do appreciate you taking the time to go through what you're doing here. And I want anyone listening to be very conscious and understand that if you're a board member, if you're a golfer, if you're someone interested in turf, that all of these things that you've gone through, Craig, in the way that you think about it, and you touch it, you feel it, you watch, you look, all of those observations, all the data, everything and anything to working towards making each of those decisions has to be done individually at all of anywhere else. Yep. You can't, because I don't know if you've ever heard that, and you probably have plenty of times anyway, but I had, when I was a super, I had neighbouring golf people come up and say, hey, Steve, what would you do at our golf course? You know, we've had this done at the moment. How would you do it differently? I go, no, stop. I'm not going to tell you what someone's done. It's a terrible situation that you get put in. I said, I won't tell you what I would do or what I wouldn't do there, but I tell you what I do here. That's all I can tell you.
Yep.
Because I don't know what's going on down there. I don't know what you're having to deal with, and I don't know what's at your disposal. I don't know what's going on. But I can tell you what I do here, and that's all I can tell you. And I think it's very important that people understand that you have to think about and work through all of the different bits of information to create the steps to get to your goals. And they don't transplant across from course to course or person to person.
Yeah, I'm happy to chat to individual superintendents
or 100%.
turf managers.
And people listening can ask questions about what they're doing. If you're a turf manager, you sit there and go, oh, okay, Craig's doing that at Duntry. have we ever thought about that here? Maybe I could take that idea and have a look into it further for us.
Yep.
Could that apply here? Could we tweak that to then apply here? Or that's not going to work here, I already tried. And you just go, okay, that's fine. I think all of these ideas that you're talking about that you've done, that you do here, I think is great to discuss as well for people to hear, because they can go, oh, I haven't heard of that one before. So that's a great idea. And they can critically think through their processes and what they've got in front of them.
Yeah, there's plenty of that I haven't heard, and that's why I listen to podcasts.
And that's what's so good about this platform, and reading books, going to talks, going to seminars, professional learning, and all those things that you can do, professional development and stuff. I think everything has a place in becoming a better turf manager. I think the more we hear, that's what learning is, right? That's why people go and do sabbaticals, to learn different things. Yep. And they go and work as volunteers at Royal Melbournes, at Royal Sydney's, at Lake Carrinyups and different events, because they want to see what's being done there. Not to say, I should be doing that instead of this or this instead of that. It's to say, well, there's an element. Can I apply that element to what's being done here?
Yeah, exactly.
And again, I say that for a reason. It's because I don't like for anyone to go, that's being done, Craig did it at Duntry, we need to do that at our course.
No, it's not.
And that's not how it works. And that I want to be very, very clear on that to anyone listening. So, mate, really, really impressive that you do it in your way. It's interesting to hear the reasons why as well.
Well, a couple more things about the greens. When we do punch holes, every year I change the depth, because I don't want to create a layer.
A pan, yep.
Yeah, exactly. So that's one thing that I do too, and obviously that dictates how much sand goes on them.
Yep.
And then the other thing, which kind of scares me, but the reason why I do it is my mentality is I want to grow good grass, because you can always thin grass out.
Yep.
But sometimes when it's thin, it's hard to grow back. So
it's a good point.
I tend to grow too much grass.
Hang on, half a catcher for 18 greens isn't too much grass.
But wait for this. This is what scares me. When we verticut, even though we're verticutting at -1, you were saying you've done it 2 weeks apart.
Yep.
I've done it twice in 1 week before.
Yeah,
because
wow.
Like this to me is too thick. And
I was going to say, it's pretty dense.
Unfortunately, I can't verticut right now because our mower's broken. It's so old that it's basically not fixable, like financial reasons.
Yep.
It would cost too much.
It's not worth it. Yeah.
So I'm waiting for some heads to come up. I've bought some new heads, so when they get here, the boys jokingly say we're going to lock you in the office because I'll be in here at 2 a.m. But when I verticut, I try to do it weekly, but I did it twice in 1 week once because I was that worried that we were too healthy.
Yeah, right, okay.
We verticut on the Tuesday and then verticut again on the Thursday, and both times we got 14 catches.
Wow.
14 empties, so 28 empties in 1 week.
Wowee, that's huge. And that's just from thinning the canopy.
Yeah.
It's not clipping the top off it. So what's a good analogy for people? I use this one a lot, and I say it's what causes most, in my opinion, what causes most problems on greens is that the density in the turf surface, especially when it comes to power, is that I think of it like a forest.
Yep.
If you walk into a forest and it starts raining, it takes a lot of rain before you start to feel it underneath all of that canopy of the forest. Right? It might have to rain for a day, or it might have to have a 10 mil, 20 mil storm for you to feel it. But if it's only a small shower, you won't even notice that it's happened. Same things happen on a golf green, in my opinion, is in power particularly, is that forest can be really dense, and that also is what can limit your infiltration rates and all that sort of stuff. But if you thin it out, all of a sudden you open up that canopy a little bit more. There's a little bit more air movement, a little bit more water movement. Case in point, from wanting maybe one or half catches for 18 greens to go 14. That's unbelievable. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, so that's obviously the verticutting catching plus the green cleaning
that's right.
up behind.
Yeah, cleaning it all up. Yep.
So
that's incredible.
But yeah, that's how much grass we can take off these, and they still look healthy
play and
at the end.
Yep.
So
very impressive.
Yeah, these are due, and I'm just itching to get out there. But
they just feel so good underfoot too. Watching the balls roll. How important is it for you to watch a bit of golf and see how the course is playing, how the greens are playing?
Yeah, I try to, obviously, and I ask the guys to do that as well when they're out there. If they're adjacent to a green that they're working on, have a look, and has anyone seen the ball roll? And
yep.
I stimp for speed, but I also stimp for bobble.
Yep.
So I'll just pick spots sometimes and just stimp it and see how the ball moves, and then do it 3 times and see if the ball ends up in the same spot.
Okay.
I'll take a putter out occasionally and have a putt around, but yeah, it's really important. And there's members, and there's a vast majority of them. There's some that typically criticise, and that's fine. And then there's some that are too generous with their comments.
Yeah, sure.
So you've got to find that in between. But yeah, I know quite a few members that are honest.
Yep.
And yeah, it's good to talk to them. And I'd say satisfaction is probably 90-10 at the moment. 90% love the firmness, love the speed, etc., and 10% are like they're too hard.
Yeah, right.
Like you can't hold the greens, and yeah, it's hard. You've got to balance it, right? Like as long as 51% are happy, you're probably okay.
Well, but to your comment there, you can't hold the greens. And I haven't really thought about that term for a while. But that's an interesting term, isn't it? You hear a lot of people talk about I can't hold the greens. And to me, that means landing on a green and staying on a green.
Yes.
Now that really isn't what we see golf played in its traditional sense, is it? Really?
It's old school golf.
Sand-based greens.
Yeah, like it's St Andrews, it's old school.
On links golf. Dry, sandy, runny, ground game. You're never going to hold those greens. It doesn't matter whether it's in the middle of a downpour. It's not going to happen, right? So it's an interesting term that I think has been brought into golf that is more for, I don't even know where that would have come from. It'd be interesting to see, but you only ever really get that in soft, spongy greens. Greens that are too wet. It's a soil profile where it plugs, bounces and spins. So that's never been the essence of golf, but it's I call it American golf, is target golf and holding the green. Hold the green, land it further short and let it run up. That's what golf is.
Well, and it will
I'm not good at that part of the game either, so I'll mention that to who I find it a challenge.
But it will reduce my pet hate of pitch marks too.
Pitch marks again. Where was it? You don't often get pitch marks on cooch greens.
No.
I played Hope Island the other day, and I don't like name-dropping courses, but I did get the fortune of playing Hope Island the other day, and a cooch green, and again, you don't hold cooch greens. They just bounce and they bounce, and you never leave pitch marks. But
well, and that's how I define a good golfer, in my opinion, is being adaptive.
Adaptable. Yeah, that's right. I mean, if you come to this particular golf course, for example, and if it's been raining and wet and you've had, plenty of rain across however many weeks, you're going to know it's going to be soft. And you could probably play target golf.
Yes.
And the greens will hold in inverted commas. But generally speaking, you want to avoid that. Certainly from a greenkeeping perspective anyway. Well, right?
Absolutely.
So if greenkeeping's goal, one of the goals is to try and avoid the greens being too soft, and that's also how golf was traditionally played, why would we want it to be soft and wet? It's soft and old. It goes against everything we try and achieve anyway.
Yep.
Personal viewpoint.
But like I said, 90% of the members are happy. So you please the majority, and
that's it. And that's another goal, right?
Absolutely.
Your membership, you've got to be able to present a golf course that the membership want to enjoy, because they're the ones paying for the privilege.
Well, exactly right.
So let's talk about your rough. Let's talk about, I see some capeweed over there, mate, we just mentioned, and there's a bit of dandelion here and bits and pieces, and we're about probably 15 metres off the side of the surrounds here, a little bit further. Look at that roll. That is awesome. What are your thoughts on rough? Lots of people will be chasing broadleaf weeds in rough.
Yeah, again, I'm here to please the membership. My personal belief and what I've said to the board is the rough is rough.
And by definition?
Yeah, and I kind of think whatever grows, it is what it is. If you drop the ball in 10 different spots, I'd hope to think you get 10 different lies.
That's an interesting point, yeah.
The aim of the game is to hit it on the fairways.
Yep.
And this course being so short, we've got the defence of the trees, but if you play down the centre and maybe not hit driver every hole, maybe hit irons, I'm not going to say it's easy because I can't shoot 10 under, but a good golfer should have a very good round.
Yep.
So if you hit it on the fairways, you get rewarded immensely. Where if you hit it in the rough, I think you do. Yeah, that should.
And to be fair, that's not terrible, right?
No.
I think when people, and I'll take a photo to put this up as well on socials, that's not terrible.
And it will show how far away from the green we are.
Yeah, and it's not terrible, but like you said, by definition, it's meant to be more variable. It
Yep.
should be more variable because by definition, the fairway is what it's called for a reason, gives you a better chance of having a more consistent lie, and not always perfect, as we know. We can land in a divot and all sorts of stuff, and that's the name of golf. But there's a higher probability of having a much more consistent lie and therefore ability to play a shot than there is if you're 5, 10, 15 metres off the fairway.
Yep. So having a older membership, probably a B, C grade membership,
Yep.
I can't have the rough too long.
Yeah, sure.
Because it slows golf
Slows
down too
play,
much.
yeah.
And so I don't have that defence. So if I can't have the rough too long and we're mowing it regularly, it's quite neat and tidy, but let's just have
But it's not perfect.
whatever grass is in there.
Yeah.
So if you end up behind a bit of Parramatta grass, well,
It's not a longer version of perfect. It's a more variable version of grass.
yep.
And that's okay. And other courses will have more width for their fairways. They can have wider fairways and allow different angles of play and different things. You don't have that here, and that's an inherent part of this golf course, and that's what makes Duntry.
Yep.
I think that's a nice part of Duntry as well, because it's, you know, in terms of its age and beauty of the trees that you have here on this particular site, it's part of what makes it a charming golf course.
Yes.
And I think I used that last time when we were talking about it. But this is a more, and you talked about narrow earlier on, this is a much more, I suppose, single-dimensional version of golf by playing it sort of more straightish to get a better result. And that's okay. That's the challenge of Duntry.
Yeah, or playing to corners on dog legs, not trying to
exactly.
carry trees.
Yeah, exactly right. And that's what you have here.
Yep.
And that's the challenge of Duntry.
The only downside of the rough being to tolerating weeds,
Yep.
in essence, is the seed head.
Yeah,
Going
sure.
into fairways and other. But like we know, shortcut grass very rarely allows weeds to germinate.
Yep, only
because it
very
doesn't-
few particular weeds. That's
Exactly right. So just mowing the fairways and the surrounds and the greens keeps the majority
That's
at bay.
That's the cultural practice. Yep.
Exactly right. So then, you know, you've obviously got pre-emergence, etc. that I
And
run
density
year
of
round.
turf and all sorts of things that you've got healthy fairways that are dense cooch fairways. That is going to be an inhibitor to many types of weeds growing straight away.
Yeah.
You know, the cultural practice of height of cut will be another thing. There's all sorts of different things, and you put out herbicides, no doubt, as well. What hole is this? 2.
2, yeah. Yeah, par
Split
fives.
par 5.
Yeah, split par 5. So kind of have that consistency between 2 and 16, having 2 split
I
fairways,
like
one on
it.
each 9.
I like this hole. Little dog leg.
We had some irrigation issues that were very wide when we did the decodering. So we've got a couple
okay.
bare spots,
Yeah, right.
which
okay.
is really frustrating, but cores will go in them this year and we'll add some
Yep.
decent soil and soften them up a little bit. And
How do you go talking about rough and hole corridors and a more single dimensional style of play with the trees? How do the roots go in fairways? Do you get any issues?
Tree
with,
roots?
Yeah.
yeah,
Do you get dry patch creeping in because trees are sucking things?
Yeah, you do, absolutely.
Do you manage that with tree root pruners and things like that, or you haven't gone down that road?
It's funny, we are...
You don't need to, you don't want to?
Yeah, you talk about, like, in a mechanic sense, bush mechanics.
Yeah.
I need to be really intelligent with my money, with my finances to create the product that we've got.
Yep.
But, you know, to go and hire a big root pruner, it'll prune the roots and then the roots will grow back in 3, 5, 10.
Exactly.
I don't know a lot about trees. So what we tend to do is, in our problem areas, we'll go through with the excavator and cut a trench.
Yep.
And put corrugated line in.
Okay.
And then
Yeah,
fill
right.
it in.
So it blocks it from ever regrowing back
Yeah.
from that point where you cut it.
So it's like a root barrier that
Yep.
used to be at Eleanor. I'm not sure if it still is. I think Avondale had a root barrier around their greens.
Yep.
So
For cooch encroachment and all that sort of
Yeah.
stuff. A physical barrier.
yeah, so it's kind of like that, but
Yep. Bigger version.
on your fairways,
Yeah.
or on
Yeah,
your
yeah.
rough, yeah. So
That's
as long-
interesting. I've never heard of that before. That's interesting.
Yeah, so
That makes sense.
and we've seen those areas that we've done. There's on 10, 1, we'll go down to 1 on the way now. But yeah, it used to obviously brown off quite quickly, etc. But then once you put it in, you can see the brown go to a straight line. And you're kind of like, what's going on there? But,
Yeah, wow. That's cool. I
Yeah.
like that. That's pretty good. That's pretty intelligent.
but you know,
I was actually thinking, when you said you had to be thinking about how you were going to go about it, I thought you might have just used a ripper, a good old school ripper on the back of a tractor. and just go down the side of a fairway where they were bad.
Yeah, you could, but my concern is how long will it be till they grow back?
Yeah, no, sure.
So if we can get a volunteer on an excavator,
Yep.
and I can mark it out with paint, that's free labour.
Yep.
The excavator's fortunately, donated to us by a member,
Yep.
so we can use that, which is very generous. And then the corrugated iron, we get that off old farm sheds and stuff. People donate it, and so it's all free.
If you know, yeah, that's it.
These are 2 bunkers that we've redone this year.
Oh, that looks good. They look very, very tidy. Wow. So these are the new bunkers done with a bunker lining product, mate. New drainage.
That's correct.
Nice new sand. Nice fresh edges. A lot of work goes into these, making it so that they drain well. And you've talked about it on the past episode about some areas of the course have more fall than others.
Yes.
So you, instead of you have an outlet, or you put it into the rough where it suits, where you've got fall, I guess, and then other parts where you've got to have it where it just goes into a big sump because there's no fall.
Yeah, that's right, exactly.
And these are the challenges.
We're fortunate to have a really nice clay, so we can have a really strong face and get
Gotcha.
get that really nice shape.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
Yeah, it's pretty cool that we can do this in house. We've got the crew that we can dig them all out, shell them out, shape them up.
I imagine the membership would be pretty happy with that result. That looks pretty bloody tidy.
Yeah, look, I hope so. We're not golf course designers, we're not shapers or anything, but I'd like to back ourselves and think we can. We don't have massive tongues in here, and we're not getting too fancy, but we've got a good shape to it. It's a nice surface, and it works.
Drains well, it does its job. So, South African Cooch fairways, mate. I want you to tell us, when I come in here in August, fairways were dormant. They were just starting to break with some new growth. I dug some holes in your fairways and didn't tell you, and then I showed you later on.
Yeah.
And I was looking at and what I found was interesting is that they looked so good. They were nice and dormant, and they were clean and tidy, but there was a lot of what I would call grass on top that was just dormant. Different to how I've seen it in the past, certainly here, but at other courses that I know that have had Cooch fairways, or where I've had South African Cooch myself. But can you describe to us a little bit, because I'm a big fan of South African, how you put them to sleep for the season, because there was a lot of grass there, and what your goals are for this season ahead, how they're waking up, and what you've done with them for the season ahead.
Yeah, sure. So we've tried 2 different approaches in the 2 winters that I've been here. The first year we had the women's qualifier in March, so I wanted to have nice tight conditions for the girls and present the course as best I could in tournament standard. And we were down at 12 mil. So we obviously didn't get much growth from March onwards. So they went into the winter really, really thin. Not puffy, I guess is the word. Good coverage, but not puffy. And a few people said to me, "Oh, they won't get through winter. They'll be dead."
Too short? Is that what they were
too short?
at?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I was kind of like, "What are you talking about?" And they're like, "Oh, you've cut them too short, too late.
Right.
They're gone. They won't get through till spring." And I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me. Like, they're South African bowling greens.
Yes.
They cut them lower than this.
Yeah, 2 mil.
And they get through. So, anyway, my goal since I've been here is to minimise the dormancy window. Not eradicate it, because that's impossible.
Yep.
But minimise it. So instead of having, realistically, I think 6-7 months, because they used to struggle to be green for their Women and Men's Open in November. That's what I've been told.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're still quite yellow at this time of year. And if you go around, there's a local oval at South African that's still brown.
Okay.
So my goal was to shorten that dormancy window. So anyway, we went through that first winter of 12 mil. I put my fertiliser packages and pigments on it, etc., etc. And we woke up probably realistically in October.
Yeah, right, okay.
So we woke up a few weeks earlier than they've been in the past.
Yep.
And everyone was kind of like, oh, I didn't think I'd survive. And anyway, it is what it is. Like, I didn't understand where they were coming from, but I thought, I don't know this grass. I don't have a lot of people to talk to about it.
There's not many people that have got it anyway.
So then in the same year, March, the women's qualifier then was in December. So they actually had 2 events in 1 year, but they were separate years.
Yep.
So we had them down at 12 mil for the women, and they played really well. And then after that, especially over Christmas, New Year's, when you got low staff numbers, we let the height go. And then when we came back in early January, we started cutting at 20 mil. And I thought I might as well see what both ends of the spectrum produce. So we'll go in at 12 mil, we'll go in at 20 mil. Anyway, we took a lot of grass into this winter, and we haven't mown fairways since basically the first week of March, and we still haven't mown them yet.
Wow.
So we usually only mow for about 4 months of the year.
Right.
So it's a good thing for labour, but
Sure.
yeah, I want to get them up to 20 mil as quick as possible, and that's my membership enjoy that height because they're an older membership, and that's what they want. So that's what my job is to produce. But I also look at the positives of it from my side of thing as a defence. The longer the grass is, the less ball roll you get.
Yep. Okay. Yep.
So it will make
more
the course,
friction. Yep.
Yeah, it'll make the course play a little bit harder, a little bit longer. So normally going into winter, I load the plant up with potassium and harden the plant up. And I think you got to start pigments early. I don't know what other people's thoughts are, but I think if the cooch or if the turf goes dormant and then you hit it with pigment, it's very hard to get the colour back. So you've got to start early and keep the colour in it. My thing is to harden it up for winter stress, darken it up as much as possible to create as much heat in the plant as possible. And then, I tickle feed it throughout winter. And I've been told by members that I'm wasting time, wasting money, etc. But this year, as you said, we had green shoots in August, and the week after you left, we had snow.
Oh, yes, that's right. You did too.
So, but we were green basically in the first week of September.
And I am absolutely blown away. So it's now the 14th, is it, of October. So I was here on the 25th of August, and you had green shoots emerging from the stems of the grass after I got down and had a dig, and I was blown away that you had that then, that late into winter.
Yeah, soil temperature of 3 degrees.
And then you had snow the following week after I went home.
Yep.
I was gobsmacked that you had it, but I was quizzing you on those things because there was a lot more grass there. It's going to retain a little bit of something in terms of temperature, but not enough to grow. But this is what you did this time around. It's October, and I actually thought you'd cut them because there was that much sort of green colour to it. I thought it was all, still growing and done it, but you still haven't cut them. But you've got this beautiful sward of South African Cooch fairway, and it looks like they've been growing all season.
Yeah, it does, absolutely. It does.
It's staggering, and yet when you started, you said the membership was saying to you that they wouldn't wake up until October.
Yeah.
And we're in the start of October, and they look like you've been looking after them like this for the last 6 months. It's incredible.
Yeah.
I don't know whatever you've done is how it's worked. I can't speak of the physiology of it, but it's worked, and it's worked incredibly well. And I just, being such a fan of South African Cooch, who do you talk to about it? I've said it before, as my understanding is this is the largest, oldest stand of South African Cooch in Australia that I believe. I haven't been yet to find anything else around on a golf course with the acres of South African that you have on your fairways. But I know that you're pushing 100 years of age, certainly 90-something years of age. So that is just a staggering age of a plant that you're working with, and there's no one studying it anymore. It's an old grass, essentially. We don't use it in a modern world. You can't just go and buy it. You're dealing with something that's like a wonderful old specimen tree, and you've worked out in your methodology how to get the most out of it, and you're always going to keep tweaking on that. But mate, congratulations. That is a really, really impressive turf surface, and anyone who gets the opportunity to come out here and play it will be playing something very, very special. I think it's a wonderful turf surface to play golf on, and the fact that it's a unique part of what makes Duntryleague a wonderful golf course. It's another unique facet, another charming part of Duntryleague, mate. So I just wanted you to explain what you've gone about and how you've done it differently, because lots of people aren't going to know those details, and there's a fair bit of thought that goes into it.
Absolutely, and it's funny because I'm quirky. How I think, but like having members tell me that I'm wasting my time spraying in winter, I don't think I am, because I can see the results now. But it's like, obviously big fan of power, and we go back to the power chat. I hate it in my fairways.
Yeah.
I despise it. I don't want it anywhere near.
Yeah, you don't want it. Yep.
I've got a line across the front of my surrounds, and there is nothing, or very minimal plant in the fairways. And we talk about resistance and all that kind of stuff. And luckily, some products haven't been used here in the past.
Yeah.
So most of the products work, which is really cool. But I run a pre-emergent program year round. And, you know, there was that thought process for a short period of time is, you know, root pruning and being such a specific grass, is it going to be detrimental to it? But
Yep.
I thought it's better to go half rates or quarter rates more regularly rather than load up full rates. So we've kept a pretty pure surface. And it's interesting to hear how POA can adapt to things. And I'm mindful of that. And I'm doing a little bit of trial work now, but the reason why I fertilise during winter on the fairways, even though members said that I'm wasting time and money, is people spray Roundup on their cooch when it's dormant.
Yes.
They're different people, my members, not turf managers, are telling me that it's not going to take the chemistry in, not going to take the fertiliser in, I'm wasting it. But yet we see when we spray Roundup on our fairways, we delay spring green up. So that's one thing I refuse to do. I will not put Roundup on these fairways.
Okay, that's an interesting thought, yeah.
The plant is obviously metabolising that Roundup, my fertilisers,
and
etc.
how is it doing that? Well, it's active within the plant.
That's right.
So something's happening.
Yeah, so one thing that I'm surprised that no one's really talked about that I'm aware of is with POA becoming so resistant to so many things, people spend a lot of money on chemistry and you get limited results. Now you could argue they're wasting that money, maybe, maybe not. But I've floated the idea to a couple of people, and again, they think I'm probably strange. But I'm like, if your cooch is dormant and it can take Roundup, why don't you go a super high rate of urea? Because the POA's more alive in winter and functioning at a faster rate.
Much more than the cooch, yeah.
So say the cooch takes in 10% of it, and say you go 50 kilograms a hectare, and it takes in 10%, which is 5 kilos, which isn't detrimental to it.
Yeah.
But the POA that's actively growing grabs it and goes, how good's this? And then goes, I've just overdosed.
OD'd.
Like, I haven't heard anyone talk about using a fertiliser to kill the plant. I remember at Bonnie Doon.
The only one I've heard where that happens is an iron to kill broadleaf weeds. Use an iron-based application of...
To almost burn them.
Yeah, to burn them. Burn them out. That's the only way I've ever heard of a fertiliser in that way.
Yeah, so
broadleaf weeds.
I've thought in my own head, like, why don't we overdose the plant while our main species can't be overdosed?
Can't take it in,
And then it will metabolise that 10% or 20% uptake, whatever it is, and it's not detrimental. And then we might come into spring with a healthier plant, and if we can reduce that POA number, because once it's resistant, it's going to be resistant for a long period of time because of all the seed head and the genetics passed on. But yeah, no one, people would say, oh, but that's costs a fortune in fertiliser, but the chemistry that you're using isn't working, so it's costing you a fortune anyway. It doesn't
matter. Or it's not even an option, right?
Yeah. Because I remember at Bonnie Doon, what we did is we came up with this theory where we would go out and spray pigment and gibberellic acid on the fairways.
Okay.
Now, the idea was the pigment would layer the leaf and protect it. It would do the same to the POA, but then because of the gibberellic acid, the cooch wouldn't bounce, but the POA would.
Oh.
So 24 hours later, you go out and spray again with Roundup with a sticker.
Ah.
So what the theory was is the cooch is protected with the pigment, but then the POA plant splits in that 24 hours with growth, and it splits the pigment, and then the Roundup hits that spot.
Oh, it can go, okay.
Yeah, we saw varying results, but I think we've got to go down that train of thought in a way of thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
If herbicides aren't working, like POA is actively growing, it's absorbing chemistry, clearly.
Yeah, 100%.
Even in winter. Like, can you overdose it?
There you go.
It's just a different...
It's an interesting...
So that's something that I'm playing with a little bit on nursery fairways and stuff, and just seeing, like, I might not spray pre-emergent on my nursery and allow the POA to come up, and then I'll go out and tinker with it.
Yeah.
And then see how the cooch responds as well.
Yeah, for sure. And because you've got no data on this cooch, right? No one's got any data on South African cooch.
No, that's right. I've got about 10 minutes worth. But yeah. I've never heard anyone talk about...
No, I certainly haven't. Not that I would have, but I wonder if there's any...
But surely that's another tool in the box.
Could be. That's right. Could it be another tool in the box? It's a homemade tool in a sense, but it could well be an effective one.
Yep.
Just that people haven't looked at using
and
that tool in that way.
And financial restraints, like I get it, that's a lot of money to go and spray your fairways with 50 or 100 kilos a hectare of urea, but like what happens if you knapsacked it and just spot sprayed it?
Just spot sprayed areas that were, or a small boom run in that particular area.
The pole will be thinking, how good's this, until bang, it's had too much, and then...
That's very interesting, mate. I like it. I like the ideas. And that's...
But that's all it is. It's just an idea.
It's an idea. And again, this is part of critical thinking. This is part of thinking outside the box. This is a different way to use a tool, potentially in a different way. This is what you do. This is greenkeepers greenkeeping. You've got to think of these things. And as I can't say it enough. I can't say it enough. And I think we always need to remember that it's about thinking about problems, how you can solve problems in different ways.
Because pyro adapts. So say you put 50 to 100 kilos on, say this works, hypothetically. But then over time it becomes resistant and the pyro gets used to that volume of urea, and genetics get passed on to the seed head and that. Then what, 3 years later, you just starve it out.
Yeah, you do the opposite.
It wants the 50 to 100, right. Then you starve.
It needs it.
I don't know, as I said...
It's an interesting thought process. There's so many different things that you can try, look into, play with. I say playing with turf. This is essentially what you're doing, right? Playing with turf to work out what works best, what's going to work better than something else, and you might find a new method for you and your situation that could work. And that's really cool, mate. All right, that's really cool. Thinking outside the box. People will call you strange.
I've been called worse.
Unreal. Craig, it's been an absolute pleasure to be out here on site with you at Duntryleague, and I appreciate so much of your time showing us around and sharing a lot of your insights and a lot of what you're doing here at Duntryleague, mate. I really appreciate all your time, and thank you so much for all the information that you've passed out for people to listen to and consider and think about. Mate, thanks for being on the Golfing Greenkeeper podcast.
Absolutely, Steve, and it's a pleasure to be on, and I'm in a fortunate position where people are interested, I guess, in my quirky ideas, but this is just what works for me on this property, and I'm not saying it works everywhere like we've said a couple of times, but if someone gets something out of it, that'd be fantastic. Look, I appreciate you too. You've driven 3.5 hours and you got to go back, and
I did stop at Mount Panorama, so that's okay.
But it's nice to chat in person and be able to look at things together.
100%.
And hopefully some of those photos shed some more light on our conversations. Really appreciate you coming out, Steve.
Thank you, Craig. I really appreciate it, mate. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
Well, I hope the turf nerd in you had an absolute pearler of a time listening to that with Craig and myself out there on course at Duntryleague. It was an absolutely incredible day, I'm here to tell you. One of the most magnificent days I've been out on a golf course anywhere. It was just spectacular. And that's where you heard me talk about it plenty of times. The course is magnificent. It's in beautiful condition. And Craig and his team are doing an incredible job out there. And the golf club itself and their investment into the golf course is just fantastic. And I have a big thank you to Superintendent Craig Geeve, because he gave me so much time. We chatted about so many things. You heard the honesty and openness in our conversation, and it was absolutely incredible to get that time and all that insight from Craig, and I really do appreciate that he was able to take the time to bring that to you, ladies and gentlemen. Without that openness from Craig, you don't get these conversations and you don't get that insight. So a big thank you to Craig. I hope you got a lot out of that episode, ladies and gentlemen. There's a lot of things that go into the decision-making process, as you heard. Craig looks at all sorts of different things to bring out the best in the golf course. He's big on understanding efficiency, how he can get the most out of such a small team, and the deep dive of all those details and all the things that we chatted about, even personal thoughts and opinions of ourselves and what we think around the place. So they're our own opinions, as you heard. Now, one thing I will just mention, and I did touch on the golf course, the South African cooch of the golf course being around 90-odd years to pushing to 100 years old. That's not at that specific site. I want to clarify that. I did get a little bit excited talking about the age of the plants out there. Those plants for those fairways were taken from Bathurst Golf Club, which is nearby, and they were taken from Bathurst Golf Club, I think around in the 1950s, to Stolonise the fairways of the golf course at Duntryleague. But Bathurst has South African cooch in their fairways, which my understanding of my research shows that it was put down sometime there in around the 1930s, I believe. So that's why I say the plant out there at Duntryleague is pushing around 100 years old. That the background, the genetics of that plant, because I can trace it back to Bathurst Golf Club. And I'm working on tracing it further back. So, I just wanted to clarify that it was put down, I think it was around the 1950s at Duntryleague itself. But that plant material, the family of that plant it was transplanted from Bathurst Golf Club, which was nearby. And that plant at Bathurst has been on site since around the 1930s, I believe. So I just wanted to clarify that for you. And, I got pretty excited about it because it's such a big stand at Duntryleague. It's the biggest stand of South African cooch anywhere that I know of in Australia. And it's something very, very special when you go out there and play it and you see it for yourself. It is absolutely a beautiful turf surface for fairways. But there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Please like, share, and subscribe this one. Lots of information that's there for people to get a deep insight. They might not have heard of the podcast before. So any sharing to people you know who might be interested, turf nerds, even golfers who might want to understand a little bit more about turf surfaces and in POA putting greens. We've seen them in the US at Oakmont specifically this year. They're at Pebble Beach, Torrey Pines and so on. We know that POA greens adorn those surfaces at those high-profile clubs in the States. Any ratings, reviews will be wonderful. Really appreciate it. It helps me get the podcast further around. A big thank you to partners John Deere Golf. You can check out everything that they have to help you look after your golf course better at deere.com.au. That's deere.com.au. And a brief mention that there's some new machinery coming out soon. So I'll be hopefully able to bring that to you when that happens, but You'll hear about it very soon, ladies and gentlemen. Something very special is coming out soon. Now, a quick one about the next episode of the Golfing Greenkeeper podcast next week. We're doing Walking the Fairways. It's coming out with Director of Courses Richard Forsyth from the one and only Royal Melbourne Golf Club with an insight into how the preparation's been down at Royal Melbourne Golf Club for the course for the Men's Australian Open that's coming up in a few weeks now at the beginning of December. That's a very, very special episode with wonderful insight from Richard and something that I know you're going to want to listen to. So please subscribe to the Golfing Greenkeeper podcast so you get a notification of when that comes out, because you will want to hear it. It's coming out next week. Ladies and gentlemen, that is another segment of John Deere Golf Keeper of the Greens. You hit 'em clean, we'll keep 'em green, and I'll catch up with you very soon.